promised, the Patriots completed an interview with Team Hall of Famer Mike Vrabel for their head coaching vacancy yesterday, but the two sides didn't come to a deal, so the process will continue today with Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. The Patriots also submitted a request to speak to Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, but they got turned down. Glenn, however, will meet with the other 5 teams with vacancies. The Chicago Bears spoke to Pete Carroll yesterday. Carroll will reportedly meet with the Las Vegas Raiders next week. The NFL yesterday moved Monday's wild-card round playoff game between the Rams and Minnesota from L.A. to Glendale, Arizona, as a result of the wildfires in that city. The Bruins played better last night, but they still lost their 6th in a row, 4-1 in Tampa to the Lightning. Mason Lohrei scored the only goal of the night for the Bruins, and it came in the third period after they were already down 2-0. This is now the longest losing streak for the franchise in a decade. Interim head coach Joe Sacco searching for answers.
They're not feeling great about themselves. Neither are we, right? No one wants to lose in this league. It's you're in this profession and this business to win hockey games and get results. So we're not getting them right now.
They'll visit the Florida Panthers tomorrow afternoon. The Celtics play Sacramento at TD Garden tonight. Every one of the regulars is healthy for this one. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. And in college football, Notre Dame got a 41-yard field goal from kicker Mitch Jeter with 7 seconds left. They beat Penn State 27-24 to reach the national championship game. The other semifinal is tonight at the Cotton Bowl with Texas facing Ohio State. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm John Wallach of Boston Tone for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
Some people play the game.
Jaylen Brown. Blocked by Horford.
Some talk about
Let's
it.
welcome to the Sports Hub Celtics show, by the way. Jim Murray, Chris Gasper.
The Sports Hub Celtics Show with Murray and Gasper. Saturdays at noon on the Sports Hub.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Toucher
Fred Toucher on Instagram. Follow and see dog humping videos.
and Hardy
I'm going to withhold sex.
on 98.5.
Hello. Hey there.
Yo.
Can we use this for radio?
What? Let me hear you say, oh. Na 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 na.
Crush me, mommy.
Just not enough booty to go around? Say my name.
I'm a robot.
I'm the son of the post.
I'll chase you around a little bit.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Instagram.
I want to dip it in. What?
Toucher and Hardy
Watch Daddy and Uncle Freddie.
Knocking back some fun.
Having some fun.
on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Let's go.
She's willing to let people enjoy those big candies. That peanut butter skin with that big wrap. I know what I'm capable of. Keep your distance.
I mean, and look, you and I could both be sick Monday and be out for the entire week. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. But he's, he kind of wears it as a badge of honor. He only took 2. I don't think you took any. I didn't take any.
Yeah.
And there was one day I was in here, like, with the first day of being sick, and I just came in anyway because it was kind of, late to make the call. And I'm like, whatever, I can suffer through one day and not get anyone else sick, and that was fine. But Fred, I believe legitimately sick today. Thank you. I believe legitimately sick today because one of his kids was sick a couple of days ago. Sounds like he got that. Now, why do you say legitimately sick as opposed to the other 2 days that he did miss last year where he just this is where he gets into his soliloquy about I know my body. And I know when I need to, take it down a notch. One of the days he started getting really tired, to which I said, "Oh, you're tired?" "Oh, nobody else who works a morning show is ever tired."
I don't know about you, Hardy. I feel great.
Yeah, every single day.
I feel fantastic.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sweetums. I didn't know you were feeling a little peakish. I didn't know you were feeling a little puny, having to get up at 4 a.m. and
on a Friday too.
Still staying up and watching games, and then working all the week. And it's you only work 4 hours a day. No, well, maybe some of us, but the rest of us are working more on the show. And yeah, it is a job. It's not 10 hours of swinging hammer, but it's a job that is more than 4 hours. And yes, when you are up like a normal person past 9 p.m., heaven forbid you stay up until 10:30 or 11, then yes, we all get tired. Fred got tired a couple of times, had to miss a couple of days last year. This time, I believe he is actually sick. So that is the last of the ball busting I'll do.
Get better, Fred.
About Fred being sick today on a Fredless Friday.
Right. Get better, Fred. We all miss you.
He said he thought he got the flu from one of his kids, and I hope that's not the case, because if it's the flu that's going around, it's the one that I had. I got the day after Christmas, and I wasn't right again until New Year's Eve. It was the sickest I've been as an adult.
It just laid my wife out for the last 10 days.
Yeah.
What type of sickness are we talking about?
Mostly bad cold. Mostly, feeling incredibly tired, achy everywhere.
A lot of fever for your wife?
No, that's the one thing she didn't get out of it.
'Cause I had like 4 straight days of fever, chills, just absolute misery.
I remember 12 right before we all went on vacation. He was like at 8:30. He was like, "Yeah, I'm leaving as soon as the show." He looked chalky white that day.
Yeah.
That's true.
I did the Hardy. I came in when I was like, I think I might be coming down with something. Then, I did need to take a sick day earlier, or I should say later last year. But this was the different situation over the holidays. It wiped my whole holiday week out.
Did you get the flu shot this year, 12?
Yeah.
Sheep.
You didn't get it?
I don't remember.
12, I got mine. I got mine in November.
Good. See, and that's what kept you from getting whatever your
maybe
bride there had. Yeah.
It could be.
Perhaps.
Looks like the sheep is healthy.
So let's get Fred healthy too.
So my wife was sick last weekend, starting on like Friday night. It was like Saturday night. It was like all day Saturday, Sunday, and when she gets sick, she gets into bed and doesn't leave. And I mean, she got into bed on Friday night and did not really get up and do much of anything until Monday morning, other than just, an occasional trip downstairs. To the point where yesterday I said to her, do you plan on leaving like the property, like in your car? Because if not, we should probably start it. Just make sure the battery turns over. I know it's been in the garage.
You heartless bastard.
Well, I mean,
what's wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you?
But at some point, I start to worry about her mental health. I'm you should go out and see people. You're well now.
What a joy it must be being in your world for more than 4 hours a day.
And
what an absolute joy it must be for Marcy.
And she worked every day this week, I think. And she does when she works from home. She legitimately works from home.
Yeah.
So she's been working, and but I said, I think it would do you good to maybe, I don't know, venture out, run an errand, just do a little something.
Moping around here.
Yeah. Knock the dust off of you. Do a little something.
Did she respond by hitting you in any way, shape, or form?
No, because I say it with a great deal of charm and humor.
I doubt it, but all right.
And I think at some level she knows I'm right. I'm like, okay, enough. You've been convalescing here for 6 days. Let's go.
Is that not how you convalesce, Hardy? Are you not a crawl into bed and wait till you get better? Or
okay, so most things that we get irritated by in other people are things that we recognize or don't want to recognize in ourselves.
Amen.
This is the opposite. Now, I of course can like veg out and just sit there and watch a game and really spend half the time on my phone and just sink into the couch. We can all do that. But when I am sick, I do the opposite. I'm up doing probably too much. I can't rest. I would say 90% of the time I'm the person who can't sit still. I got to be up and doing something, to the point yesterday where I was home for a couple hours with no pickleball yesterday.
Sorry.
It's a dark day when I don't have any pickleball scheduled. And the night before, Mark had dropped by the house with my new driver.
Mark is
the UPS driver.
And of course he is.
I was downstairs working, downstairs in the beat laboratory, and I heard some conversation upstairs, which almost certainly means someone has to be at the house because the kids aren't talking to each other or one of their parents.
Right.
I'm like, oh, someone's here. And I go running upstairs to see what's what. And there's Mark with a great big long box. I'm like, oh, that's it. Now, I determined at some point last year my driver not working. I need to fix this game mechanically, right?
Your driver was not working?
Not working toward the end of last season.
I see.
And
the shaft was bent, or you were just poor?
As they say, it's the soldier, not the gun. Okay, I understand it's me, but that requires work and dedication. I'd rather fix this by getting a new gun.
I see.
All right,
which costs a lot of money.
Well, one would think. And I had two drivers I was, going back and forth with, both of which I've had for a while. I'm like, I'll fix this. I decided that the way to fix this was by getting something different than those two, something that matched clubs that I already have in my bag, shaft, head-wise, matches the fairway woods, So I found it on a pre-owned site, shipped from Texas about a week ago, and it finally showed up on Wednesday night. I'm like, oh, this is great. Thanks, Mark. All right. So I unbox it. I'm waggling. I'm taking half swings in the basement. This is great. I can't wait to go over to, either Topgolf or McGolf or something and try this thing out. And I was so bummed out yesterday. I get home and it's too cold. I can't go, man. It's
so windy too.
It's so windy and the wind chill, and it's brutal. It's brutal. I made it until about 1:30 yesterday. After I had gone home, had a little lunch, took a little nap, and I'm just looking at the clock. I'm looking at that driver, and I said, I can't. And I went upstairs. I said, this might be the dumbest thing ever. I got to go try and hit this thing. So I did, even though it's miserable outside.
How long are you outside for?
34 minutes I lasted. I got the bay for an hour, and as soon as I showed up, the woman at Topgolf said, so, you here just you today? I said, yeah, I just booked an hour, and I said, we'll see how long I last. She said, most people, it's been 30 minutes today. I said, okay.
Yeah.
And
she planted that seed. She's like, 30 minutes.
I was 15 minutes, and I couldn't feel the tips of my fingers, and I'm like, I can't tell if I'm hitting this well or not.
Crazy.
I mean, the ball's blowing 40 yards offline once it hits that
How many
wind.
other people were there other than you? Because I've been to Topgolf. That's a very, very impressive facility, very large, 3 floors, like horseshoe bays. What are we talking about here?
Surprising number. I was down on the end of the second level, the one closest to like Dedham Street, that side.
I know where that is. Yep.
And I think those last 4 bays were filled, and one of them was like some dudes outing. There was 5 or 6 of them down there, and they were, they weren't stopping. But there were 2 guys next to me that just appeared to be there on their own. I'm like, guys, what are you thinking? You should have tapped out. I mean, I did, and I'll play through a lot, cold, wet, whatever. No, not worth it. Not doing it.
Why would they put you all the way at the end if I'm going to say it's stupid enough to go outside in weather like that? I am right next to the exit. I'm not walking, and you walked, 100 yards down there? I'm not walking 100 yards to my bay. I am walking right out that door, those sliding doors, and right to the first bay available. So when I pack up, I can get inside quickly.
My guess would be is that, because it kind of curves.
Yeah.
It's, like a semi-circle. My gut tells me the wind is less of an issue on the ends. But I don't know.
Okay.
I think that's where they put people if the,
just saying,
weather
that walk
dictates
back,
that it's going to be better on the ends as opposed to like smack dab in the middle of that thing.
Because it takes you a few minutes to get your clubs assembled and get out of there. That walk back has got to suck.
No, what sucked was like trying to hit like a frozen golf ball with a frozen club when your hands were frozen.
Mm-hmm.
That part sucked. By the time I packed up I was leaving, I felt great. I'm like, fine, I'm going to get in a warm car. They can be done with this.
Yeah.
But I can't. That's my point. Even yesterday, I just can't sit and do nothing. My wife can do it. I'm guessing that's what Fred is doing this morning.
When I'm sick,
for the rest of the day,
I get angry. I'm pissed off that I'm sick. It's an annoyance. I can't get up and do stuff.
I feel that.
I can't. You get up and do stuff when you're sick, thereby prolonging your sickness where you should be resting. when I am resting, I get angry because I don't want to be there. I don't want to be in bed. I don't want to be hamstrung by this. It's just an obstacle in my way, and it's something I have to stop and wait to pass, and I can't stand that.
Do you get that feeling when you're sick, like, next time I feel well, I'm really going to embrace it, and I am not going to take it for granted?
Yes, there's always that thought. It's interesting you bring that up. There's always that thought. You know, I'm whatever. You're a couple of days into it, and I'm like, man, I remember when I felt well, and I felt awesome back then.
Well,
I got to remember that feeling because that was cool, and this is not.
But also, like, I feel guilty for not feeling just joyous at not feeling sick. And I'm not going to be like that anymore. Yeah. Every day I wake up and I feel good. I'm gonna thank Jesus Christ.
No.
And I am going to
half day once you get better.
No, because then the alarm goes off at 4:15 the next morning. You're like, God, I almost swore. I can't. God damn it.
Oh, Wallach. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, I hate that. That alarm is the worst thing in my world.
Dude, I've been waking 3 days in a row. I woke up between 15 and 20 minutes before my alarm. And it gave me reverse anxiety this morning. I said, oh, what if this happens tomorrow morning on the day when I can sleep in? What if I wake up at 4:15 and I'm awake and ready to get up for the day? That's no good.
No, it's not good at all.
I don't need that.
No.
Let me tell you, though, for Freddie T or anyone else who's laid up today, there could be worse days because I believe this feels like an annual thing, maybe even biannual or semi-annual. Which is the one that happens twice a year?
Biannual.
Okay. That's not every other year, or is that semi-annual?
No, I think Hardy might be right. That's every other year. Biannual.
Feels like once or twice a year.
Yeah.
HBO just runs Sopranos on a loop. And one of the HBOs has been running The Sopranos, starting with the first season, episode 1, and just rolling them. And they must get to the end and then just re-rack it. And I don't know how long this goes on for.
Yeah.
And part of my, veg out time yesterday when I first got home, that's what I did. It really doesn't matter what season, what episode. I can suffer through an episode I don't like as much.
It stands up still? That's a yes.
It's almost, it's kind of got like an Office, what's the other comfort food show that we all watched during COVID? Seinfeld, yeah. The Office. For some people, it's Friends, Family Guy. Mm-hmm. You can just have it on in the background and glance over and it's like, oh, yeah, I know what's going to happen next. I'm going to watch for the next 5 minutes, and then you can walk away.
Yeah, that was 90210 for a while for me.
I see.
On a loop. On a loop, they just get to the end. It was 10 seasons. They get to the last episode, and all of a sudden we were back at the pilot. Brandon Walsh comes to town from Minnesota. Will he fit in Beverly Hills? Tune in next week.
I never watched it. And this isn't like a Seinfeld bit for Melrose or 90210.
Used to watch Melrose Plays, too.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
Well, they're hand in hand, right?
Yep. They were back-to-back for a while, yeah.
You pretty much had to.
Yep.
All right. So, no Freddie today, but Bert Breer will be here, and Kendra will be here later. Cedric Maxwell, we think, is going to join us. Heard back from you?
Working on that.
Okay.
I did reach out yesterday. Did usual, Thursday afternoon reach out. Hey, Cedric, just sent you the link. Talk to you tomorrow. Never heard back. So
right.
I'll
hold on.
A buzz later on.
I want to get to Ben here, I think. Ben, good morning. Hello.
Hardy, baby.
What's going on?
YouTube loves you. I was calling because it's a beautiful Sunday morning out there with all this golf talk. I was wondering, should I go with a ping or a Titleist ball?
Oh, well, okay. Now, Ben, I understand that you're breaking balls a little bit here. Ping doesn't make a golf ball, my friend.
Well, that just further proves my point that because I have ADHD, I'm not allowed on golf courses. So.
Why not? Really? Yeah. Have there been issues?
There may have been one tournament that was going a little long, so I just ended it for everybody.
Oh, yeah. There's a great story about Scott Zolak being in a tournament. I think it was at Oak Hill. And the head pro up there years ago told me the story about Zoe, who didn't want to play, but he did request his own golf cart. And at some point after the tournament, and just drove around the course bothering people. And after the tournament ended that day, at some point he had taken the cart into the woods and found a large, what he thought was a nice piece of timber that he decided he wanted. There may have been some alcohol involved. So almost like a railroad tie sized timber that he strapped to the back of his golf cart like you would a set of golf clubs.
Yeah.
And not only drove it back to the clubhouse, but carried it into the facility, into the banquet room when they were having the post-round lunch, dinner, awards, fundraising, or whatever, and laid it down in the middle of the dance floor.
But with a little bit of creativity and a pocket knife, you could whittle that down to something nice you could put on the front lawn. So.
Weekend project.
Anyway.
Weekend project. Thanks,
go,
Ben.
guys.
Okay, I got to let you go,
See
Ben.
you, Benjamin. I told you my Zoe story at the company tournament, didn't I? How he and it almost ran me over with a golf cart. He just decided he saw me and had a bottle of alcohol in one hand, and on the other hand he had the steering wheel barely, and drove over like a little creek, water flying everywhere, and lined me up, and I had to run for my life because he just decided he wanted to run me over from the opposite fairway.
Was that at Shining Rock?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I think that was the tournament where he and Gresh decided to get the handle of something.
Yes,
So
that's actually what I was going for.
Yes.
Zoe had the handle in his right hand and the steering wheel in his left.
Wasn't a flask. They didn't have nips.
No, it was a handle.
I think it was a handle of Jack, maybe.
That's right.
All right, good times. What happened last night, we'll find out next.
didn't.
Start your
Got
day.
your finger on the pulse, Fred.
Begin your
Seldom
day
right and never wrong.
right here. Is that Dutcher or is that Hardy?
I know, looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
Did you catch the game last night?
What happened last night is brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happened. So change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lepresti. 1-800-GET-HAIR. Bruins Lightning last night. Game that was played in Tampa, where apparently there was a lot of black and yellow in the stands. Heard that mentioned more than once.
Yes. You had all the moms, of course, up in the box. That was one.
It was a mom's trip.
It was a mom's trip, the Florida trip for the moms. But, yes, a lot of Bruins fans in the crowd.
Yeah, well, that, stands to reason. At any time a New England team is playing in Florida, plenty of transplants, plenty of people willing to make the trip down. And, oh, boy, did they get a show from their Boston Bruins. How about some more snake bites? I say, how about some more snake bites?
Zacha coming in across the line. Deals off for Pasternak in front, hit the post off the redirect, and then Vasilevsky able to grab the rebound.
Oh, shucks. Well, that's okay because the Bruins would end up being on the power play for the first goal of the night.
Minute 20 to go in the man advantage. Pasternak tried to carry through the blue line, lost it, and back they go. And now Lorai's got to get it on his horse. Instead, it's Hagel. He put it just wide on the breakaway. Came back out, and they score.
What?
It ricocheted off the end boards, and Sorelli one-times it past Swayman. A shorthanded goal, and the Lightning are up 1-0.
There are so many things to talk about. That 20 seconds.
1,000 pardons. Bruins on the power play. The score is 1-0. I incorrectly remembered that the Bruins scored. Oh, no. That would be a shorty for the Lightning.
Okay, so they put David Pasternak on the second power play unit with Pavel Zacha and a bunch of nobodies, guys that would never sniff the power play or on the power play unit for this team because this team is not very good and not very deep. So Pasternak stick handles in over the blue line and tries to go through four people. Why? Because he knows he won't get the puck back. There's no one capable of feeding him the puck on that second power play unit, so he turns the puck over. Guy goes down. Swayman, who, by the way, had a very good game, makes the save. Unfortunately, after he made the save, he lost track of the puck.
Okay, so as soon as you said Swayman had a very good game, I'm glad you mentioned this because, number one, Lorai gets beat back, looks like he's skating in cement.
Sure.
He loses, it's not even a race to the puck. He just falls behind, and there's going to be a clear shot. He makes the initial save. Now, I guess it is a lively board down there in Tampa, but the puck comes straight back. He makes the save and deflects the puck off to the blocker side, on the stick side, and it just stays on that side. For some reason, he skates over to the left side of his crease looking for the puck, and by that point, the puck is back out in front, and he really has no chance at it.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And again, just reiterate this. Jeremy Swayman had a great game last night. That game could have been 6-1, 7-1. Swayman did a great job in net, but he lost the puck. I don't know how you do that. If you're a goaltender and you've been in this league and you've been playing hockey most of your life, how do you lose track of where the puck is? I've never seen that from him, and it's 1-0. And by that time, considering how poorly the Bruins had been playing recently, it might as well have been 5 or 6-0.
Just absolutely brutal. That shorthanded goal, and that put the Bruins in a 1-0 deficit. By the way, I just want to double check something here. Yes, that is correct. Since New Year's Eve, since before New Year's Eve, and what is today, the 10th? So
yes,
throughout all of January and a few days in December, the Patriots have won more games in that time frame than the Bruins.
Sure. Makes sense. We were talking with Billy Jaffe when he was in here on Wednesday, and that is, I believe, the 17th time this season the Bruins have given up 4 goals or more.
Right. Now, as if that misstep by Lorai wasn't bad enough.
Here's Asimon moving down the left wing circle, takes a shot and scores. Mikey Asamon just able to beat Swayman cleanly from the left circle. And it's 2-0 Tampa in the final minute of this second period.
Now, once again, well, how does that happen? How does he beat him cleanly? Because Lowry backing up instead of making – look, you want me to go out there and coach? You want me to go out there and do something? I don't know what to tell him, but I'm pretty sure the kneeling down on one knee and making a half-assed attempt to block the shot is not what he's been coached to do, nor is it what one is supposed to do in that circumstance.
That was one I think that Swayman should have had, regardless of what Lowry was doing in front of him.
I don't know what he was doing. I mean, you know what? Try not to screen his goaltender, I guess, maybe a little, but you got to make a better play than that, man.
It's all a mess.
All right, so that makes it 2-0 Tampa. All right, Lowry has a chance to redeem himself.
Face off, pulled back toward the top of the crease, and Coyle giving chase as he went into the far corner. Now Lowry's got it, stepping toward the top of the face-off circle, moves toward the slot, shoots and scores! And the Bruins get one early here in the third as Mason Lowry wrists one through Vasilevsky. It's 2-1.
All right, nice goal. I'm not going to take anything away from it. I will say that one of the reasons why it happened and why it was facilitated that way is because there was a miscommunication on the coverage, and he was allowed to kind of just hold the puck out in front of the net and move laterally in front of the goaltender to freeze him a little bit, and then took the shot. All right, it happens.
2-1. It's 2-1.
But it's
Hardy.
2-1. We got a hockey
2-1.
game. We got a hockey game now, right? The things are looking good. No, more snake biting going on. That Morgan Geeky on one.
Down deep for Zacha, right in front, Geeky. And that one caught the post.
All right, that's fine. They end up pulling Swayman.
Kucherov just outside of his own blue line over to Hagel. He'll shoot and score from just outside the Bruins zone. The empty netter with 92 seconds to go makes it 3-1.
All right, this is where I made the mistake, because after this goal, and I told you this before we started today, I turned the TV off. I'm like, oh, the game's over, and I missed it. I missed something at the end of the game.
You missed the Donnybrook.
Yeah.
In the neutral ice, it'll come back to Lilleberg. Oh, and Kastelik goes after him. They're going to drop the gloves in front of the Tampa bench, and Kastelik gets the jump on him with a couple of big right hands. Lilleberg trying to go back at him, and they go tumbling down, and Lilleberg still trying to throw punches with Kastelik down on the ice. So with these teams going to play again on Tuesday, Kastelik not going quietly here with 2.5 seconds left.
He's not that tough. I beat him in ping pong. No big deal. Pucks and paddles. No big whoop.
Kastelik got cross-checked in the face. It was blatant. He got cross-checked in the face and took exception to that.
Yeah.
And I think, look.
Just like I plastered a Prince table tennis ball right off his face, on a kill shot. I said, take that.
Blew him out, did you?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I think we beat him. I'm not sure.
You won a couple of rounds.
Won a couple of rounds.
Yeah. You were, quarterfinals. Good for you.
Who ended up beating us? I can't remember. Anyway, I'm pretty sure we beat the Cavs.
Pasternak, I think, beat you.
No, we didn't play Pasternak.
Oh, okay.
No. All right, so, yeah, the fight at the end. Oh, the Bruins ended up on the penalty kill after that.
As Kucherov sends one in front for point, and he scores. And why not? Power play goal for the league leader in that department makes it 4-1.
So there you go. Between the empty netter and the power play goal there at the very end, 4-1, Bruins fall to the Lightning in Tampa Bay.
Okay, this is the worst Bruins losing streak in a decade. They've lost 6 straight games. This is the season that we all thought we were going to get last year or the year before. This team, and it isn't second guessing. We've been saying this for a while as a show, and I imagine other shows have said this too. They are not deep. They have one glorified goal scorer and Brad Marchand, and that's it. Oddly enough, Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha are playing like Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha before the Bruins got them. This is not a good team. And I understand Hampus Lindholm is skating and coming back, and when he does, that will help the defense tremendously. But Jeremy Swayman is more good than bad at this point, but he's not where he was before. And all of this, you add all of this up, and you have a team that is going to scramble to make the playoffs. And if they get in, the only way they beat teams is if Swayman becomes hotter than the sun. They don't match up well with any of the teams in front of them. Offensively, they're challenged. They need to play perfect defense, and they need Swayman to stand on his head +5 in order to get anywhere in the playoffs, and that's if they make it. This is not a good hockey team.
No, and I'm glad you brought that up about the expectations for this team, because I've heard some revisionist history lately about how the team is performing this year as opposed to last year, and how, at the start of last season, how they came out and just everyone expected them to blow doors, and that's what they did. And I said, whoa. That's not the case. That's not the case at all. At the start of the 23-24 season, that team was supposed to be much worse than they had been before. Now, that was a nice surprise. And if this is a case of things returning to the norm a little bit based on the roster and the talent, obviously we've had the coaching change since then, but don't turn it into something that it's not. Last year's team, especially early on, overperformed. This one is underperforming. Where they should be lies somewhere in the middle.
They're a point now behind Tampa Bay for third in the division, but the Lightning have 5 games in hand.
5.
Bruins have played more games than anyone else, and they're barely hanging on to a playoff spot. This is, and the theory has been they built this team for the playoffs. Well, now we're in January. They're at the midway point of the season. You got to get there first. And there are a lot of teams that they're playing now, Hardy. They're in a tough part of their schedule. They got to play Florida tomorrow, and then they play Tampa Bay again. They're playing teams that very easily could beat them. This 6-game losing streak might be a lot longer before they end it.
All right, let's see what happened with the college football playoffs last night as we get 5 straight days of playoff football starting last night. We'll do that as we continue here on Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
you so you can hear more of Todger and Hardy.
That's what I want on my tombstone.
Here, Bert Breer will join us at 7 o'clock. Kendra's going to be along later.
As to what possessed her to try and drive through the Midwest during winter. Something that you are more familiar with than I am. I know about East Coast winter, but driving in January, she seemed kind of shocked that she ran into an ice storm.
Yeah.
Driving north from Dallas to Indianapolis.
I mean, I would say it's a rookie mistake, but she's more well-traveled than I am. And it's like, you got to consider things like weather and climate when you're traveling. So I don't know. I don't know what she was not thinking. But last night, the semifinal at the Orange Bowl, Notre Dame and Penn State, which I did not get to watch in its entirety, but damn good game.
It's going to be Singleton. Singleton to the 5, to the goal line. Touchdown! Penn State, the Nittany Lions take the lead with 7:55 to go. The third touchdown of the night for Nicholas Singleton.
24-17 Penn State lead, as you heard there, about midway through the fourth quarter. Notre Dame, though, not to be denied in their fairy tale season.
Takes the shotgun snap, looking right, going to throw wide open. He's got Greathouse, catches to the 30, cuts back in the 20. Jaden Greathouse is going to walk in to tie the game. What a throwing catch! 54 yards. Leonard to Greathouse, and Notre Dame strikes back with 4:38 to go in the Orange Bowl.
How do you like that, Wallach?
I hate Notre Dame. I really hate
24 all, baby.
I hate Notre Dame. As you well know, I hate their fans. I hate all of them. And their stupid-ass gold helmets. Oh, there's real gold in the helmets when they paint them on. They have actual gold in the helmets. See how shiny they are?
I learned that from
Go
watching
watch Rudy. Jesus Christ, go watch that movie. Leave me alone.
We're going to go. They can't lick us.
That's right.
Well, sometimes it helps when you have a quarterback on the opposing team who gets jinxed.
47 seconds to go. Are you aggressive or are you cautious? I'm aggressive. I mean, I got 2 timeouts. I feel like the momentum's been back and forth. The quarterback, for the most part, all season long, his whole career, Drew Aller's made good decisions. He's got 50-plus touchdowns, only 9 career interceptions. He's not likely a guy that's going to put the ball in harm's way. I trust him. I think he can do it. And I would empower him in this situation to drive him down the field for a game-winning field goal.
Okay, was it the next play or just on that series? 2 plays later. 2 plays later, 9 career interceptions. I trust him. He's not going to put the ball in harm's way.
Quick snap for Aller, looking left. Can't get it out. Now pressure coming. Aller throws. Loose ball. Intercepted. Christian Gray picks it off at the 42-yard line. Notre Dame will get the ball back with 33 seconds left in the game.
He panicked. He saw a guy in his face and threw it to the middle of the field. That's it. That's all. That's what happened. He panicked, and it happens. Other quarterbacks have it happen to them, only this time he did it in the worst possible moment. Allard was supposed to be the 3rd quarterback taken in the upcoming draft, and he told everyone he's going to stay in school for 1 more year. That took what many thought was a valuable quarterback off the board, and he did that. Wow.
So Notre Dame, as you just heard, gets the ball back late.
Good snap, good hold, kick on its way, and the kick is good! Yes! Mitch Jeter, with 7 seconds left, gives the Irish a lead, 27-24. Notre Dame is on the precipice.
Oh, shut up. Jesus.
All hope was not lost. Penn State had 1 more shot at it, Johnny.
Aller takes the snap. Final play of the game. Over the middle of Warren. Laterals it. Wallace is on the move. Now he's going to drop it back to Aller. He's in trouble. Throws it all the way across the field. It's out of bounds. The clock runs out. It's over. Notre Dame has won the Orange Bowl. And the Irish are going to play for a national championship. Yeah. The dream season continues to Atlanta.
Texas and Ohio State, either one of those teams is going to win by 3 touchdowns. Have fun while you can. Enjoy this 1 week beating Penn State.
You filling in for Zoe this morning? Tyler Campbell emailing early. Weird timing, huh, Hardy? He craps on Notre Dame all season. They just had a huge win to get to the Natty, and now he's out. Little Fred can't take the heat. What else did this happen with recently? The last time Fred was out was on a day where he was going to have to answer for something, or he had a scheduled day off. That's what it was.
Okay.
It was before Christmas.
What was the thing? No, I think I remember what it is you're talking, but I don't remember the subject matter.
I can't remember either.
No.
But it was something.
No.
It was something that went against everything he had predicted, hoped for, wished for. I can't remember either.
Real quick, the real reason to watch this game, if you're a Patriots fan, was to watch Penn State defensive end Abdul Carter, who had a sack, 2 tackles for a loss, 5 tackles in all, left defensive end, pass rusher, dominant. That is a guy who the Patriots very well could wind up with at number 4 overall this spring. And as a Patriot fan, you have to watch these things. Abdul Carter is in play. And you read Dane Brugler, who we've had on before. He's the guy who is the draft expert from The Athletic. He's very high on this guy. It seems at number 4, if the Patriots stay put, Carter's one of those guys. And another guy to watch tonight when Texas plays Ohio State is Texas left tackle Kelvin Banks, who is another real threat to be taken by the Patriots at number 4 overall. So these are the guys to pay attention to.
All right. But, crap on Notre Dame all you want. They're 14-1. They were the
Who was that one lost to, Hardy?
They were the 7th.
Who was the one lost to?
Shush. They were the 7th seed in this first playoff that has 12 teams in it. They're going to have a chance to bring the title back. First one since 1988. So
yeah, they beat. Let's see, they beat Indiana, a team that shouldn't have been there. They beat Georgia Georgia did not have their quarterback, and they beat Penn State, who is not a top 5 team. So good for them. They're in the finals. Good for them.
So they will.
And they're going to lose by 3 touchdowns to whoever wins the game tonight, Texas or Ohio State.
Is it 88 the last time they won the national championship?
Yep. Lou Holtz.
Wow. Okay. So they will face the winner of Texas Ohio State, and that happens tonight, right?
Cotton Bowl.
Yeah,
Yep.
Cotton Bowl tonight.
We're in the middle of 5 days of football there, Hardy.
The 5 playoff games in a row. It was
5 days of football. We had last night, tonight, and then the NFL takes over the weekend.
That's right. And on a Monday, the playoff game on Monday is the Rams-Vikings game, which has been moved to Arizona.
Glendale. Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. So I imagine when Bert joins us here, is Bert coming in or is he going to be on the Zoom?
Bert is going to be in the studio. He is en route now.
Nice.
Okay.
And we can discuss the Patriots and the sham that is their coaching search.
Okay. Well, but we'll give Bert plenty of time to talk about Ohio State. I mean, that's what I'm watching tonight.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think you're right. I think you're going to be watching what many would feel, at least with the teams that are left, what should be the national championship game. It should be these two based on what's left. But again, John, storybook season. It's just a miracle season for these Fighting Irish of Notre Dame.
It's gold helmets, Hardy.
They got no quit in them,
Oh,
John.
fantastic.
You know?
I just feel great for all of those people nationwide that went to Notre Dame that root for this team.
It is particularly obnoxious to see all the Notre Dame stuff walking around.
The millions
around.
and millions of grads from sea to shining sea that have attended this great school in the Midwest.
I only know one person, I think, who went to Notre Dame.
I don't know anyone that went to Notre Dame. But I'm on the East Coast, so maybe that's my problem.
I know half the guys I graduated high school with have the Fighting Irishman tattooed either on their shoulder or calf.
Well, that's a Boston thing, the Shamrock.
Yeah.
And that's Charlestown. Everyone's got the Shamrock.
I think his name. God, I mean, and I say I know him, but I haven't talked to him in years. He was friends with one of my roommates in college. Who was from Kansas. This kid was from Kansas, too. He was at Notre Dame, and he ended up flying refueling tankers like for the Air Force or for the Navy or something. You know, those big, fuel planes.
Yeah.
And he was the guy flying the big, gas tank, the big gas station in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the only Notre Dame person I know. So I personally don't have to suffer through any of it from an actual alum. But there's so few out there. So many fans, so few alum. How does that work?
That's my point.
All right, Bert Breer will join us. Bert Breer will join us next here on the Fredless Friday on Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Stay with us.
Mikey Asamon just able to beat Swayman cleanly from the left circle. And it's 2-0 Tampa in the final minute of this second period.
That is Ryan Johnston here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The Bruins lost in Tampa to the Lightning 4-1. This is a 2-1 game before the home team got a pair of goals in the final 92 seconds. But either way, the Bruins have lost 6 in a row. They visit the Florida Panthers tomorrow. Celtics play Sacramento at TD Garden tonight. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The Red Sox assigned Tanner Houck, Garrett Crochet, and Cutter Crawford to one-year contracts. Jaron Duran, however, did not come to terms on a deal, so the two sides will head to arbitration. And in college football, Notre Dame beat Penn State 27-24 to reach the national championship game. The other semifinal is tonight at the Cotton Bowl, with Texas facing Ohio State. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Albrecht Auto Group, Zoe's Auto Dealer. Get respected Albrecht. Now 8 locations, including the all-new Subaru of Wakefield. Thousands in new and pre-owned vehicles, all at the right price at albrechtauto.com. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7:30.
This is Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown turns the corner. Finger roll is up and good. Score on the foul.
Listen to home of the Boston Celtics, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Is elongating.
Weekday morning.
Here goes Hardy.
Toucher and Hardy.
I no longer love them.
Let's go. Let's ride.
98.5.
Let's roll the dice.
The Sports Hub.
What's going to happen to Elliot Wolf going forward?
You don't have to be delicate with me. No, I think it is. I think it is like largely up to. I think Robert Kraft. I think his commitment. I think it's a soft commitment. I think it's a. We'll see what happens with the head coach. And I've seen this before with Vrabel. Like I think I don't know if Mike would say, as a condition of me coming here, I have to have my own personality.
Fredless Friday on Toucher and Hardy. And Albert Breer is here. Bert is the senior NFL reporter and lead content strategist for the MMQB. Getting Down to Business with Bert Breer is presented by Bentley University, where good business begins and leaders come to learn. Good morning, Bert.
Good morning,
for being
guys.
here.
Made it on time, too.
Very impressive.
I know when I'm needed, and I guess this morning I was needed, right?
You skipped the Dunkin' run, I see. No Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
That's a timing thing for me always. Like if I get off the highway, so there's that Dunks right at the Weston, like right over the Weston line there.
Yeah.
In the gas station. And so if I get off the highway, it's like if I get off the highway at like 6:52, I've got enough time, but it was.
So you'll go back over the highway,
loop around.
I think that's the best one to go to, right? Like there isn't one closer.
Yeah,
no, that's the one.
But you have to go. Like if I'm coming from there, then I got to go back over this way.
Well, you got to go back over the highway.
But then I got to find parking over there. I know the one you're talking about because that one's 24 hours.
All right, so the only time I've been in that one is like at 5 a.m. And parking is not an issue.
Okay,
it probably is at 6:58 when you'd be going in.
Right, and I think most people don't know. Like everyone in Waltham knows about that Dunkin' Donuts, so it's probably packed at 6:50. Whereas like the gas station Dunkin' Donuts,
or you could just leave yourself a little more time for parking
not.
and waiting in line
and not go on my run.
Not go on your run and just get here with plenty of time to spare.
Did you get your run in this morning?
I did. Yeah.
How far did you go?
Thanks for asking. 3.
You went 3 miles in 5-degree temperature. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, it was
got me going. I think I'm giving you guys a better product because I went on my run.
But it was a little better than. Did you go like yesterday and the day before?
Yeah.
Oh, that's brutal.
It was, well, I mean, like I just wear I have like the ski spandex, you know what I mean? Like the
that's hot.
It's not just the it's not just like the normal like stuff that you would wear. It's like the stuff you would wear skiing, which it actually the one mistake I made the other day, my buddy Dana, who calls in sometimes, he saw me out and called me out on not wearing gloves, which is a huge mistake. Like I had everything else. Like when it was like the feels like 1 degree day, right? Yeah. Had everything else, but just kind of got lazy and didn't dig gloves out.
Did you ever consider running on a treadmill or indoors?
I have a Peloton in my basement.
So why would you not do that?
I just all right. So sometimes, for me, like this week, it gives me a chance to catch up on some stuff that I want to listen to. So it's a more efficient use of my day.
You can't listen to things while you're on the Peloton?
Not really. I mean, you got to be when you're on the Peloton, you got to be listening to the class.
I don't know if that's true.
You
Do you
sort of
have to?
Well, I guess you
I'd
don't
never
have
been
to.
on a Peloton, but I thought the whole point of Peloton was this interactive
Yeah,
experience.
yeah. So you have to be listening.
All right.
Yeah, so it's like it's a spin class basically. So you
Okay.
have to be listening to the class. So when I'm running,
Because they got to tell you to pedal.
it just gives me the chance.
Run
to,
hard. Oh, not much further now.
if there's stuff like I feel like I have to listen to from like the week, which especially in a week like this when I'm on the phone nonstop, like a week like this, it's an easy way for me. Okay, well, I'm going to be running for 30 minutes or 40 minutes, so I can listen to this and this while I'm running.
All right. Well, plenty to listen to this week, plenty to catch up on. We're not going to waste a lot of time, and we will get to tonight's Cotton Bowl matchup between the Ohio State University.
Bert's got his Ohio State sweatshirt on today.
Bright red. I wore this for the Rose Bowl, so now I have to wear it again.
Yeah, but hey, whatever works, man.
Yeah.
I am not above such superstitions. I do the same thing. I got my own thing that I do that I am not willing to talk about, which will. No, I mean because it's dumb. It's and it's nothing.
You have
special
Michigan
or
State
gross.
gloves. I know that.
No,
You have a Michigan State mug.
It's for the Lions, but I have to decide what game to change it up because anyone who talks to me
Have
about
you ever changed at halftime?
Oh yeah, oh God, yes.
That was the NFC Championship game.
Mostly with Michigan State. Mostly with Michigan State when they're playing Michigan, and I will change hats. I will not change the hoodie. I have the Russell Pro cotton, not faux vintage, but actual completely torn to shreds. It's more than 30 years old now. Hoodie that I'll wear. That one stays on, but I'll change hats. But it's for the Lions. I have to decide what game I am going to change it up this year because they will inevitably lose at some point, and I have to determine what game is it they are most likely to lose. And it could be.
You're really fatalistic. I mean, they're the number one seed. They beat the crap out of the Vikings.
See, as a long-suffering Red Sox fan and a Patriots fan before 2004, I know exactly how he feels.
Everybody is. I mean, Bert. We talked about this
if you
last
think
year.
I feel like 100% comfortable about tonight, I don't.
No. And I'm not going to go down a Lions thing here, but because the number of congratulatory texts I got at halftime of the NFC Championship last year. And the people I was watching the game with, it made me so annoyed and angry. I had to leave and go watch the second half by myself because at that point I knew this was the game they were going to lose.
I started to make plans for my dad to be at the Super Bowl with me last year at halftime. Wow. Because for people who don't know, he's from Detroit also. So, yeah.
You should know.
Huh?
You don't know?
What I know. I'm well aware of it. I don't know.
Now listen,
See,
I'm not saying that's wrong. I had my hotel, flight, and everything booked 2 weeks before that, but that was really more of like a work thing, and I was planning on being there for all kinds of reasons.
Is the show going to be in New Orleans?
No.
Okay. Oh, are you going to go?
Fred and I are going to Detroit next weekend for the divisional game.
Oh, are you guys going together?
No, he's going with Milo. I'm going on my own and meeting up with people there.
Okay.
So that
Do you guys already have tickets?
No.
Okay. Let me know if you need some help.
Oh, we do.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
You're the guy.
Yeah.
I might be able to help.
Absolutely. But I kind of decided I would rather, and I haven't been to Michigan I guess I was there last year. Whatever. This is going to be fun. This is going to be seeing with Lions fans. I haven't been to Ford Field.
You've never been there?
Really?
So, and the way you talk about it, the way Fred talks about it, I'm like, I want to experience a game there.
It's probably the loudest stadium in the league.
That's crazy.
It's like because, and the reason why, and you'll understand this.
Louder than Seattle, really.
It's loud. Well, the reason why is because a lot of these domes, so Dallas, Atlanta, Minnesota's a little smaller, but like a lot of these domes are so spread out and cavernous now. You know what I mean? Like SoFi is freaking massive. And so many of these places are they're so spread out that noise isn't trapped the same way it was in like the old Hoosier Dome or the old Metrodome or the old Silver Dome. And Detroit, it's like built like a warehouse and it's in the middle of the city. And so it's like more built, I would say, vertical.
Yeah.
And like the other part of it is all the suites are on one side, and then the stands are all drop on top of each other.
Yep.
So like in a lot of these new stadiums, you have like 3 decks of suites,
but
cutting the upper deck off from the lower deck. In this stadium, there's nothing cutting off the upper deck from the lower deck. So all
the wall of sound.
So they all flow right down onto the field. I mean, I can remember the first time it really hit me there was I was there. I think I've told this story to you, Hardy, but I was there for the Harbaugh handshake game. You guys remember that?
Yes.
What a jackass.
So the Harbaugh.
God, he had such a hard on.
I was there for that, and I was on the field for that at NFL Network. And the way it works when I was at NFL Network, I'm on the field for the last 5 minutes of the game, so I'm standing on the sideline. And I swear to God, like, that may be the loudest environment I've ever been in. I said to somebody afterwards, it was like, this must be what it sounds like to be standing on the tarmac without the earmuffs on when a plane's taking off. It was so loud.
You're talking about the game where he slapped Jim Schwartz on the back?
Yep.
Yeah, and then Schwartz ran after him.
Yeah.
And then I was on the field at the end of the Lions-Packers game.
Oh, wow.
Whatever that was. First week of December. It's an awesome.
So and then we're going to get to the Patriots, obviously. But that was kind of how I decided. I'm like, I was planning on, New Orleans, and that was just my plan all along. And look, if I get all swept up and they somehow miraculously make it to the Super Bowl, and I know they're the number 1 seed. I know they're, but it would be a miracle for the Lions not to Lions themselves between now and then. If they make it, I still might end up in New Orleans. But for now, divisional round, that's the one game I can tell you I'm going to.
How about, like, the story, if they get there, of the kid who's from down the street that broke his leg and became the best player on the team coming back for the Super Bowl?
You're talking about Aiden Hutchinson, where it's like it's difficult to think that could happen in the NFL in 2024. That the kid who literally grew up down the street, a Lions fan, ends up being the best player on defense for your team, somehow gets hurt in this, miracle run that they're having, and it's only a miracle because of who they are, not because of the talent or their opponents. No, they're a really legitimately good football team in a vacuum, but as the Lions, for this kid to be on that team, to get hurt, and then, as you said, have a legitimate chance at playing in the Super Bowl if they make it there, yeah, you wouldn't write it. You wouldn't write it in a movie script. It's too corny. It's not believable. It's too cheesy.
Yeah. Yeah, so they got a really cool thing going on, and I think it's like I think there's some urgency for that group because of what's happening with what we're going to talk about here next, I'm sure, which is like it's a special group of coaches that have like accomplished so much together. And it's almost like, you guys remember what it was like when Charlie Weiss and Romeo Crennel were leaving at the same time, and that was, to me, like, that was different than, like, Josh leaving or Bill O'Brien leaving, or because that was, like, the group, that was, like, the foundation group. And so, like, I think for Aaron Glenn and for Ben Johnson, who very well could wind up coaching somewhere else here in a few weeks, there's an urgency on them to get it done, too.
All right, so let's talk about it. Mike Vrabel meets with Robert Kraft, apparently in Chestnut Hill yesterday and not Foxborough.
In Boston, right?
Boston, which to me means RKK had him over for lunch.
I sort of wondered, was that kind of like, remember last year they took crap for having the interviews, the sham GM interviews in Boston, remember? So we're having this one in Boston too.
So you have Vrabel in. Apparently he left RKK's house without a contract and without an agreement, so they're going to talk to Ben Johnson today. And Aaron Glenn, who the Patriots just kind of tossed a request at 48 hours ago after everyone else had gotten an interview with him. Well, first, let's back up. Do you think they actually expected to meet with Aaron Glenn, or is that a backlash of public opinion?
Oh, I think it was a reaction to public opinion. Like the timing of it.
That's atrocious.
The timing of it tells you that, doesn't it? I can tell you.
Well, I just wanted to make sure you said that because I thought that.
I can say factually that the slip went in Wednesday afternoon. So factually, that's when it went in. Like when I reported it, it had basically just gone in, and that was 2 days, 2+ like over 48 hours after the initial.
After he had it, sit down interviews with all the other teams.
No, it's not after. So that hasn't started yet. But like the request went in 48 hours before or after the Patriots had put in a request with the same team for the other coordinator.
That's
so it's
crazy.
just. I mean, I think some people have gotten the craft about the way that this was all handled and how sloppy it was and how bad it looked and the tweet, and I think all that stuff like has sort of rightfully so, like he's gotten backlash for it. And I'm not talking about like people like me going on the air and saying stuff. Like I think people he's close to have called him and said what the hell are you doing?
Right.
So
that's
I don't know.
Funny though that you bring up the fact.
I don't know how this is going to impact the whole thing, but I would say like I thought it was a really bad look. Like I think it's another thing that they've screwed up. You know what I mean? Like, so put this in the bucket with everything else, and we can pin like the skirting of rules or the communication issues with Bill or with Mayo or whoever else you want to pin this. It keeps happening. It keeps happening. So like and the sidestepping of the Rooney Rule, that's not the first time it's happened. It's the fourth time it's happened. Because if you look at it, right, so they didn't have to comply to the Rooney Rule with Mayo because of the thing in the contract.
And Rooney Rule dates back to
2004, I think.
Yeah.
So they've never had. They've. I mean, you could
20 years, let's call it.
I mean, like, so if you look at it, right, so the first one was in 03 or in 23 when they hire O'Brien and they bring in Adrian Clem and Keenan McCardell as sort of like, hey, like we're interviewing you for position coach roles. The Vikings were never going to let McCardell go. Adrian Clem wound up becoming their offensive line coach, so that was ostensibly an offensive line interview. Then last year, obviously, there was the Mayo thing, which yes, he's a black head coach, but they didn't have to comply with the rule because of the succession plan, which is sort of a loophole there or workaround. And then in May, they elevate Elliott Wolf, and they couldn't get anybody to come in because everybody knew the job was going to Elliott. So they bring in Brandon Hunt, who's the pro director in Philly, and then they bring in Samir Suleiman, who had just been fired as the cap guy in Carolina. Those guys were never getting the job.
Right.
So this is the fourth time. So my whole point on it.
But you could even go more than that. When you go back to guys like Patricia being here, when they don't get coordinator jobs, because the Rooney Rule applies to more than just head coaches and GMs. You still have to.
There was that. Well, that was the whole. I remember that's a good point too, Hardy, because that one when they hired Patricia and Judge was like
you don't get the coordinator position,
job,
so we don't have to interview all these different candidates. We don't have a coordinator, so we can hire whoever we want to be, a coaching assistant without going through the process. And who's the offensive coordinator? Well, we know who it is.
Yeah,
but we didn't have to do the whole process because we didn't name one.
It's like I look at it like, when do the rules apply to you? When are you going to comply? Because you can say what you want, like, oh yeah, that
when it suits what we want to do.
We
anyway.
know who we want. Okay, so you don't, like, no one else does. Like everybody else is just fumbling around. Like the other 31 teams have no clue all the other teams that are complying have no plan. Is that what you're saying? It's another example. It reeks of organizational arrogance, of the rules don't apply to us, of all of the things that, like, we accused Bill Belichick and his people of for so many, is still here. So what does that tell you? Like, I think that this is what they just went through should force people to take a hard look in the mirror. And you can get up there and say, yeah, that's on me. But are you actually reflecting on what went wrong? Are you actually going to look across the league at the way other teams do things? Are you actually going to ask these hard questions to yourself?
So there are questions that have been raised during this round of interviews and last year's round of interviews, the ones that took place for the GM at the C terminal at Logan Airport. You know what? We'll just meet you at the Legal Seafood there, right at the ticketing counter.
They got Vrabel at Terminal A. It's a little nicer now. It's the Delta tournament.
Oh yeah. It is nice.
Nice and shiny. Yeah.
We'll go to the JetBlue play area. We'll just meet you down there for 15 minutes. You know what? You can literally take the same plane back that you came in on and just turn around and go back. Just a quick turnaround. More on what will happen next. Bert, your thoughts on what's going to happen today? Are we going to hear anything today? A lot of talk about whether or not they let Vrabel, quote unquote, leave the building. This hour of Toucher and Hardy brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. More coming up on this Fredless Friday on Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Okay, the Patriot way was Belichick and Brady. Let's be honest here. It's not the Crafts. It's Belichick and Brady. Because once the emperor has no clothes, it's pretty freaking cold. And that's what you have going on there. How did it get here? And it happened right before our very eyes.
Bert Breer is with us here. Was a lead content strategist for the MMQB. He's with us until 8 o'clock this morning. Mike Vrabel in town yesterday, interviewing for the Patriots head coaching job. Bert, what are you hearing? What's going to happen today, if anything?
I don't know where Vrabel's head's at on all of this. There are some moving parts with the Raiders now where, I mean, I'll just say this, like the Raiders are able to get Ben Johnson in for an interview, and that should not be ignored because that was a Tom Brady operation. And I don't think Ben was going to interview with them if it hadn't been for some of the things that Brady detailed to his camp. And I think, like looking at some of that stuff, what is it? Well, it's Brady is going to be more involved. Now, he's not going to be involved day to day because he's still going to be in Florida. And his obviously with the divorce and his kids are there and everything else, like he's not going to be able to be in Vegas day to day, but he is going to be involved. And he's got a private equity CEO that bought 7.5% of the team. That was approved in December. The guy's name is it's Durbin is the last name. Egan Durbin is his name.
Okay.
And he's going to start to bankroll things, so the Raiders are going to operate in a different way than they have. So I think a lot of this stuff and concern over the Mark Davis element of this might be shifting a little bit, like where Brady might be able to insulate the new coach a little bit from some of the things that existed with previous coaches there. So I think Mike's going to have options. Mike obviously interviewed with the Bears. He hasn't formally interviewed with the Saints, but I know Mickey Loomis, who's running that search, was planning on talking with Mike. I think he was actually going to go to Mike. That was going to be formal, but the Saints are talking to him.
But when is he going to go?
He's interviewed with the Jets.
When is he going to go to Vegas? Is he going to go to Vegas? Because as of yesterday,
and I don't know.
He was not going to go to Vegas, and that to me is the biggest upset of all.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if he does or not. The Crafts could start throwing money at him, and we'll see what happens, but there's obviously competition for his services. That much is clear. And here's the other part of it too, is there pressure on the Crafts from people outside to at least make this look better than it looks. Because if you're pushing through a hire today, that looks bad. You know what I mean? Like that looks really bad. It's like you had the two interviews that I think were clearly, they are, I won't use the word again, but they are what they are. The two interviews with Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton, Aaron Glenn basically turn you down, and now you're going to turn around and just push this through.
Okay, so they talked to Vrabel yesterday.
So it could happen today, but I'm also of the mind that even if it were agreed to, there might be some element of the optics of this would be really bad if we just shoved it right through before the end of the week. Because I think that they thought. I think this is another thing they miscalculated. I think they probably thought that they would look decisive if they did that.
Sure.
Where it just doesn't look that way at all.
Well, let's say it's worst case scenario. Let's say Vrabel's like, you know what? That's a hell of an offer, but I got 2 or 3 other teams to look at.
And as long as you're going to wait, I'm not going to agree to anything.
Right.
If you have to wait on this, then I'm going to talk to these other teams.
They talk to
So
Ben.
here's the thing. I made this point, right? I love Mike Vrabel. I think he's probably the right hire. Okay. But this idea that you're going to hire him and it's going to be Belichick in 2014 again, that's not right either. That it's not a sure thing. It's and you guys know what I think of Mike Vrabel. I think he's a top 10 coach in the NFL. But if you're still any semblance of the New England Patriots anymore, you're sitting here concerned that the Raiders are going to steal him, that the Bears are going to steal him, and you're costing yourself going through a full process because the Bears or the Raiders are going to steal a coach from you, and a coach who, I love Mike. I think he's a top 10 coach, but a coach who got fired a year ago. I look at this and I'm like, this, God, how far are they fallen? You know what I mean? Like this is like you are like the Bears and the Raiders are the teams that are making you feel uncomfortable about losing a guy who, again, like I think is a really, really good football coach, but like these are the hoops you're jumping through now.
But now we're at
so
a
you're
point.
going to cost yourself the opportunity again to look around to look around and say, like, let's get a look at like the way everybody else is doing business. You're going to cost yourself that again because you're chasing something
that you can't
get back.
Okay, so let's talk about what could be the Patriots' future. This is what I wanted to ask you. Suppose Vrabel says whatever Vrabel says, but it doesn't happen. They talked to Ben Johnson today, and he goes off and talks to other teams, and all of a sudden we're into next week. Do they have a backup plan, or are they going to sit and wait for Vrabel to finish his tour? Are there going to be more interviews, or is Kraft going to wait until teams start getting eliminated to talk to more people, or is he going to sit for another week?
What
happens if this doesn't work out? What happens if it goes into next week?
I think you have to, at that point, you have to start scheduling interviews, and they do have some cover here. So they only had, my understanding is, like as of before they scheduled Glenn, they only had 4 requests out, period. So, in fact, like they'd only put in 1 request with the league. The only request they'd put in with the league was for Ben Johnson. The other 3 they don't have to put requests in because those guys aren't working for teams Vrabel, Leftwich, and Hamilton. So the 5th request went in, Glenn, on Wednesday, or the 2nd request, I guess, with the league. The 5th interview they tried to set up with Glenn went in on Wednesday. The cover that they have here is they can say, well, we were trying to respect the playoff team, so we didn't put in a request for Brian Flores or whatever. So they could turn around and do that. And I think if that's the end result, like it's a really broken road you took to get there. Mm-hmm. But like I don't think it's the worst result in the world. Like I can't wrap my head around why they don't want to at least talk to Brian Flores. I don't get that. Like why you wouldn't put in the request, because the Jets and Bears put in requests for Flores. Like why you wouldn't at least want to talk to him?
Okay, I can. There are the obvious answers that I could come up with. Number one
is they're suing the league.
There's the history there with him and the lawsuit with the league. There is the belief
didn't stop the Jets and Bears.
There's but there is the belief that, and this didn't stop the Bears either. But there is the belief that he did not work well with his young quarterback when he was in Miami.
That's a very real question,
and that's a question that both the Patriots and Bears should consider when you're talking about bringing in Brian Flores.
Yeah, the Bears 100% are asking that question. But why wouldn't that be somebody you would want to talk to?
But if you're going to go back and you're going to retread or try and rehash some of that Patriots magic from years past, which of the 2 coaches would you be more interested in trying to do that with Mike Vrabel or Brian Flores?
Vrabel's not like Vrabel didn't ever coach here either, you know? Like so
That's true.
Vrabel's coached in your system because he coached for O'Brien in Houston, but
that might be about if they're having any degree of honesty with themselves, that might be better. We don't want anyone who's coached here before. Right. We want somebody who's is familiar with him. We have a relationship with.
But that's the other part of it to me is like when I look at it, you never had Vrabel here as a coach, so how are you so sure? You know what I mean? Like you hadn't even talked to him, yet you're willing to. You cost yourself an interview with Aaron Glenn, because I think if you put the interview request in on Monday, you get the interview with Aaron Glenn. So you cost yourself the opportunity to sit down with him. You don't set up interviews with anybody else. You're risking the fact that like if you don't put in requests on some of the guys that like are playing this weekend, you know, like guys that are coaching for the playoff teams that are playing this weekend, that those guys, like because requests went in on this week on them this week, their dance cards might be full by next weekend when those guys interview too. So like how are you that sure that you're just setting up the process to hire one guy? Like how are you that positive when you had Mike as a player, love Mike. You know what I mean? An important piece of the puzzle here. But how are you that sure without ever sitting down and talking to him.
Okay, let me ask you this. What are the odds that Elliot Wolf stays on as GM?
Or are you just going for the PR win, which is like I think a huge component of this?
Okay. Let's say it is Vrabel.
Mm-hmm.
What are the odds that Elliot Wolf stays on as GM with Vrabel as the head coach?
I think that's sort of TBD. It can work. It has worked other places, but I think that'll be sort of up to.
Would you be opposed to changing horses midstream again with another position like GM after only a year?
No, I mean I think that I think you can go through a draft cycle. Like the Bills did it and went through a draft cycle with Doug Whaley as the sitting general manager, and Sean McDermott had just gotten there as head coach
when they drafted Allen.
No, it was the year before that.
Okay.
It was the year before that. But his first year there in 2017, they drafted Tre'Davious White, who wound up being a really good player for them for a long time. Deion Dawkins, who's still their left tackle. So they had a good draft with the existing staff, and then blew everybody out and brought in Brandon Beane, who McDermott had worked with in Carolina. There are examples of, again, like I brought this up yesterday on the midday show, Sean McVay working with Les Snead, who he inherited as the general manager in Los Angeles with, Sean Payton inherited Mickey Loomis in New Orleans. So it's worked before. But Mike has the leverage now to say, like, hey, I have a very defined vision of what I'm looking for in players. And I know this guy, Ryan Cowden from Tennessee, shares my vision and knows what I'm looking for and is going to make this a smoother operation. So I want to bring him in. And
is that something that Vrabel should want? A couple of your colleagues yesterday used the phrase organizational rot to describe what's going on with the Patriots right now. How big of a mess is it?
It's a mess. It's a mess.
Everything you've seen in the last 3 or 4 months points to that.
What would attract you to the job if you're Vrabel? The quarterback, right?
I can't think of much else.
I mean, so here's the thing. Here's the other thing. It's like, if you're Mike and this might be your last chance, right? Like, maybe he gets a third chance, but like this could be your last. So if it doesn't go well,
this is a big one.
Like, yeah,
it's a big one.
This is a big decision for him, right? And you look at what just happened with Gerard Mayo, and you talk to some of the coaches who are on that staff, and they tell you, because they've told me, the media environment in Boston is toxic, right? And if it gets ugly there, ownership will listen to that. And ownership will make decisions based on that. And you look at the roster and you say it's going to take 2 years to get this thing up and running. Do you trust that? I mean, because everybody's going to be shaking hands and slapping backs and everything like that, like when they bring them up at the press conference, right? Do you trust that if this team is 3-9 and Mike and Tony are shouting at the top of their lungs about what a clown show the Patriots still are in November,
and how they didn't do a real coaching search, they had decided on Vrabel a week before the end of the regular season.
Trust,
they just did the same thing all over again.
Do you trust that the Crafts are still going to have your back?
I can't imagine them doing it a fourth time. I can't imagine them doing it.
But do you trust that? Because you would have thought they'd have Gerard's back.
I did. Up until
so if you look at the
end of the regular season.
But this is a serious thing that you have to think about if you're Mike Vrabel, isn't it? Like, don't you have to think about that? If you think that the environment here is such where I think I heard Mike and Tony say it yesterday, like 8 or 9 wins minimum. Say you're a coach and you're looking at this and you're saying to yourself, you know what? Like, I think we need to bottom out more. I think we need to hollow the roster out. I think we need to get rid of Jabril Peppers. I think we need to get rid of some of the guys who are here for the bad years. I think we need to reset completely. And, I think we need to roll over some of that cap room for another year because it's going to be hard to attract free agents here. What if you're saying that, though? Because that's the way some people have come into situations like this and done it. Like, what are they going to be saying about me when I have 2 wins in October or 3 wins in November? If you're looking at it and you're saying that, do you trust that they're going to have your back? Because they didn't have Gerard's. And I can tell you for a fact that people on that coaching staff were under the impression they had 3 years.
regardless of what happened, everybody was on board. They were.
I
Gonna,
mean,
yeah,
like
they
think
were
about
down
that,
with
though.
the
Like,
rebuild.
How do you trust? Like, how do you trust that?
Okay, let's continue with that. We're gonna leave more time
for Bert's Blast.
For Bert's Blast,
We have to. Okay.
It was so freaking disrespectful. The way Fred handled Bert's
We
Blast.
just kind of hurried through it, and
Oh, my
Nick
God.
put in so much time. I mean, we need to let it breathe.
Ruin the integrity of
Seriously.
Bert's
It
Blast.
did.
It did.
Yeah.
So we got to more.
You
than,
should be insulted. My feelings were
Is that
hurt
why
more
Fred's
than
not here?
anything.
I was upset.
Is that why Fred's not here?
You know what? It's interesting. You
He doesn't
connect
want to.
the dots.
He doesn't want to answer for it.
It's
Is that why he's not here?
interesting that you connect
No.
the dots that way.
Yeah, I think that might be it.
Let
right?
me tell you
Could
something.
very well be it.
Yeah.
Some of the higher ups around here have your back. Fred was asked to be sick today. Okay, based on what happened last week, it will not be happening this week. More with Bert Breer coming up.
Sports Hub headlines.
Patriots spoke to Team Hall of Fame.
More music in the morning.
Never had to knock on wood, but I never had it yet.
Oh, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Albert Breer is here again. A few minutes late, but only 5 or 10. He swears Urban Meyer is not his friend. Albert Breer is here again.
I heard the beginning of this, and I'm like, what is this? This sounds vaguely familiar. This was...
It's like circus music.
Well,
it's just Happy Days are here again. Come on now.
Yeah,
and you're here, and that's the definition.
A song that is now in the public domain, so we are allowed to use
Circus
this.
Circus music is appropriate this week. After.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fair license. Absolutely. Yeah, all right. So Albert Breer with us. We're going to get to Bert's Blast here in just a couple of minutes. There were one or two things we wanted to get to before we got to Bert's Blast, and now I can't remember what they were. It was very important. It's very important stuff.
Well, we were talking about the perception of the team and like whether or not you would trust that like they are going to see a building process.
And for me, for if I were Mike Vrabel, I would be very concerned about Elliott Wolf as the GM, thinking that going forward, if I'm expected to at the very least get 6-7 wins next year. Okay, we can. Even if I think we got to like tear this thing down to the studs, I'm going to need a couple of things in order to do that, at least to keep my quarterback upright. Is he the guy? And once I meet with him and talk with him, is he the guy that's going to help me facilitate that, or are we going to have to go in a different direction?
Yeah, and I think that's a very fair question, and that's something that you have to get right. You know, it's there's nothing that's taken down more organizations, and you can see it in Mike Vrabel's former organization now than when people aren't on the same page and when there's discord between personnel and coaching. And, that is something that, I mean, regardless of who they hire as the coach, is a non-negotiable. So if you come to the determination that Mike Vrabel and Elliott Wolf aren't a match, well, then you move on from Elliott Wolf. And that isn't even saying that it's got to be Mike that comes in and says like I will not work with him. No, like you have to make the determination on whether or not that marriage is going to work. And the advantage of bringing in somebody like Ryan Cowden, even like a Mike Borgonzi, who like his relationship with Mike is, I think, more like it's a cordial relationship. It's not like when Mike was a player. Borgonzi was like kind of like a young guy in that.
Oh, we know all about Mike Borgonzi.
I know you guys.
We had Bird in here. Sure. We got the 411 on Mike Borgonzi.
Yeah, we had our special correspondent.
And feel free to use any of that in your reporting.
Yeah.
Just credit us.
Yeah, Bird's like I have talked to people in Everett about Bird's a very well known figure.
He's well known everywhere outside of Everett. I mean, we went to. I remember a Christmas party we went to one time in Southie. As a company, and we walked in there. You had to get an elevator at this club to go up, and we walked in with Bird, and the bouncer was like, Bird! And
of course.
just out of nowhere.
All right, Chad in Framingham has a quick question for Bert before we get to Bert's Blast. Yeah, Chad, what is it?
Hey, Bert. So, notoriously, we know Elliott Wolf and Groh are the two that are most spoken about in the front office. And Groh even recently saying, if you want fast, you got to draft fast, and he was talking about Tyquan Thornton. So they have a history of not making the best decisions. I say that to say, are the Crafts reluctant to let go with them, possibly because of relationships they have in the past with their fathers, with Ron Wolf, Al Groh, very familiar with Al Groh's coaching history? Is it just tougher for maybe the Crafts to let go and continue to give them another chance because of just the relationship with their fathers,
I mean, maybe, but wouldn't you say the same thing with Gerard? Like no one had a closer relationship with the Crafts.
The relationships are really important for the hiring. They're not. They don't seem to mean as much when it comes to actually retaining.
Yep.
So that's. I think that's a good way of looking at it.
But I do think that the one thing that I do think, like, one reason I do know that they, and this is to their credit, like the one reason that I do know that they would like to find somebody who can work with Elliott is because Elliott has done groundwork on modernizing the operation and all the stuff that I've talked about, building out different departments and everything else. Like, I think that's going to be coming over time. And Elliot has really kind of helped them with that sort of stuff. Just again, modernizing everything. So like the one detriment to getting rid of Elliot is that you're sort of hitting reset on that again.
Well, I mean,
Bert Blast.
Sorry, John.
Sorry, John. Lives in Duxbury by the bay. Bert stops by Dunks on the way. We love Bert. He's a lot of fun because he already went for a run. It's time for Bert's Blast.
Nick's just got incredible pipes.
It's so good. All right.
Incredible pipes.
All right, Bert Blast, go ahead. Wallach, you got a question in the chamber, cocked and ready to go.
I do. And by the way, Tennessee and Vegas just fired their GMs. I don't think that's a big deal. But the question
Blast.
The question I have for you
That's
is
a bird blast.
When was the last time you attended an NFL game as a fan?
November 4th. I actually did. Yeah. So this was my first time I went to a game in 20 years. And it was for my son's 10th birthday. We took him to Arrowhead for their Monday night game against the Buccaneers. So I actually have a good answer for that one. But I hadn't. It was surreal for me.
Wow.
Had a beer at a game for the first time in 20 years. All of it. Yeah, it was great.
Tailgate?
Blast.
Huh? You tailgate?
No. It was like raining and miserable. So we were going to, but we went to a barbecue place. Did the whole thing before.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Here's a simple one, Bert. Who's going to be in the Super Bowl?
Lions and Bills.
And then Buffalo wins.
Bert. You guys remember that line from the program, right? Where they got Alvin Max Tudor. He goes, Alvin, who fought in the Punic Wars? I don't know. Detroit and Buffalo. So we're getting Detroit and Buffalo.
Thank you. That's all I got. We got one more question in this week than we did last week, so I think that's good enough, unless you got one more, Wallach.
No, we'd hate to have Adam 12 get upset because we go late to a
Thank
break.
you, John.
So
I
want to make
excellent,
sure.
Excellent.
The only thing we have to say is
Bert Blast.
Well done. Albert Breer.
Good for you, Bert.
Excellent job.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming in.
Get well, Fred.
Yeah. He's actually sick this time.
No, I know. I shouldn't make fun because I had a horrible version of the flu that wouldn't go away for it lasted like a week and a half. It was horrible.
My wife has that now.
It's
Just getting over it.
Because you think it's going to be like after 3 or 4 days, you got to ride it out, and then it just lingers.
There were like 2 days where she saw the sun and then right back into it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Sucks.
Cedric Maxwell going to join us at 8:20. Kendra later on this morning, but a closing of a North Shore icon, which leads us down a road of places that maybe we just never got a chance to go into. And why?
Joe Murray involved?
I'm sure Joe Murray has some experience with this place. We'll tell you what it is and talk about it coming up here on the Fredless Friday on Toucher and Hardy.
More Toucher and Hardy on the way on the Sports Hub. WPZ-FM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. The Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Patriots' search for a new head coach continued yesterday in Boston as team owner Robert Kraft met with the favorite for the job, Mike Vrabel, but there was no deal between the two sides. So Kraft is now expected to meet virtually with Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson this morning. Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn has turned down a request to meet with the team. In other NFL news, the league has moved Monday night's playoff game in L.A. between the Rams and Minnesota to Glendale, Arizona as a result of the wildfires there. Tampa Bay goaltender Andrei Vasilevsky made 27 saves last night. The Lightning beat the Bruins 4-1 in Amalie Arena. Mason Lowry scored the only goal for the Bruins, but really isn't thinking about that.
Go out, we were playing a good game and get a bad bounce on the power play there. I don't know, I mean, I liked our compete in the third. You know, we can't always just come down to our compete in the third. You got to play a full 60 minutes and you got to figure that out. So bring that in Florida.
That makes 6 straight losses for the Bruins, and as you heard Mason just say, they have to visit the Florida Panthers tomorrow afternoon. Celtics play Sacramento at TD Garden tonight. Every one of the regulars is healthy for this one. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. And in college football, Notre Dame got a 41-yard field goal from kicker Mitch Jeter with 7 seconds left. They beat Penn State 27-24 to reach the national championship game. The other semifinalists tonight at the Cotton Bowl with Texas facing Ohio State. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by 128 Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric, the company that finishes every job strong. If your home or business has a plumbing, HVAC, electrical, or drain issue that can't wait, you need to call 128 now at 888-CALL-128. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
Let's talk turkey, shall we?
Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, in the sports industry, that's what you say.
Got your talking head right here, buddy.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Half toucher.
Dressed like a gorilla.
Half Hardy.
A big, beautiful ball of flame.
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many offers to become an insider.
Is North Shore. Carl's Sausage Kitchen and European Market in Peabody closing after 67 years.
Have you gone to their website?
I have not.
I just went to their website. It says, thank you all. We're all sold out of all meats and grocery items. However, we're going to be open if you want to buy some kitchen items that we're selling.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's open for the next. They're closed Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But if you want to go today, tomorrow, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday of next week to pick up a utensil or two, by all means, stop in. They're selling everything. Everything must go.
So this is, more like for collectors, and
Yes.
This is for like the art world now. If you want to go in there and you're not gonna go in there and get a set of mixing bowls for $1. These things are gonna go for
a piece of North Shore history, Hardy.
Yeah, exactly.
Please stop in if you want to buy small kitchen items. It says here.
Didn't somebody buy the cow from the hilltop?
Yeah, a couple people. I mean, those ended up kind of scattered to the four winds. There's some up at the that big thing in Linfield with all the shops and such. There's a few there. And
Okay.
there's a couple on a roof over here. But yes, I think there are a few private owners of the old Hilltop Steakhouse cows from Route 1.
Okay. But Carl's Sausage Kitchen, if you were ever driving up and down Route 1, you saw it, you know about this place. I myself never went into Carl's Sausage Kitchen, never went into the Palm Motel. I believe that's on the same stretch of road there.
I think that's been lost to time as well.
Not necessarily a place that you
Times.
would go into. That kind of had like a no-tell motel vibe to it.
Because it was.
Okay. But Carl's Sausage Kitchen, that's a place I should have gone into. And I don't really have a good reason why, which begs the question, is there something that you've seen, something that you've driven by, something that is a staple in your near everyday life that for one reason or another you've never ventured into? I would say Carl's Sausage Kitchen is one for me, but it's not. I was never a North Shore guy. I didn't live up there a lot of time up and down Route 1, of course, but I don't feel this pang of like, I can't believe I never went in there. I just never did. There are other places, though, that I have driven past and seen so many times I've never been in. And should they close, I would have that same feeling of remorse, regret, and just the overall question, why? Hardy, why did you never go in? And I'll tell you one right now just to get the ball rolling, John. Granger. There's a Granger that I drive past all the time.
Of course.
Granger. for the ones who get it done.
How have you not gone to Granger?
I was just going to say, you above all people should venture in there.
I've been in the parking lot of Granger, and it is the parking lot I could have pulled into when those Pro V1s spilled out of the back of the truck that day a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if I told you the story.
I believe you did.
Big box of Pro V1s
Yeah.
somehow fell off the back of a truck, and they were just being scattered all over the intersection of University and Dedham Street. They're on the Westwood-Canton line. But it was that terrible traffic and just couldn't stop. And I was in the left lane. Had I been in the right lane, I could have pulled into the Granger parking
Could
lot.
have crossed over like 3 lanes of traffic.
Yes, it would have been 2 lanes of traffic, my man. I went into the Granger parking lot once on a test drive so the salesperson could show me the turning radius of a vehicle that I was looking at. But Granger, to me, feels like a place not for posers. And
Yeah.
I feel I would be exposed as a fraud if I went into Granger. I'm perfectly comfortable going into Lowe's. I'm perfectly fine going into Home Depot and my local hardware stores, whether it's Rockies or the True Value there in store, and they're fine. They're more than happy to help if you don't really know what you're doing, which describes me accurately. I know just enough to be dangerous and to try some DIY projects, but I really don't know. I get the sense I might have to know what I'm doing if I go into Granger.
Well,
maybe I'm wrong.
I think this is the natural evolution. That would be the next step for you.
Just to go into Granger.
Well, no, yeah, but I mean, the point is, I think you've already been there, done that with all those home projects that you can kind of work around and get done.
Yes.
Maybe this is the next step. Maybe you need to go in to kind of evolve as a DIY guy.
Just by being in there would somehow increase my skill set.
Well, yeah, go in there, talk to some people who know what they're doing.
Maybe that's it, but will they laugh at me when I leave?
No.
I don't get laughed out of Harbor Freight. They know. They see me in there, and they're like, this guy knows a little, but not much, and it's okay.
I think the effort is what they're looking for there. Here's a guy.
I don't know that it is.
Here's the guy. You think they don't suffer fools gladly? That kind of thing? Oh, look at this guy. Thinks he can do it and can't. That's what you're thinking?
I don't know.
I think the folks at Granger, and I bet you anything they're listening, I think the folks at Granger would welcome you with open arms.
Well, I'm going to go there this weekend.
617-779-0985. If you work at Granger and you are listening, please call in and tell Hardy he can come inside.
All right. So do you have one, Wallach? Do you have a place that you drive past that you've never been in?
There are two. I used to live in Malden on Route 99 right near the Purple Dinosaur. I used to go up and down Route 1 plenty. You know that hockey rink that's there just south?
Hockey Town.
I've never been in there.
Never been inside Hockey
dozens
Town?
of friends of mine who have played games there.
I've been in Hockey Town.
Never been in Hockey Town.
John, I have good news. If you go into Hockey Town this weekend, it'll be like you went into Hockey Town on a weekend in 1995.
Never been in there.
It hasn't changed a bit.
I've never been in there, and you're talking about restaurants. The Chateau is everywhere.
Okay. So, you know what? It's
never
funny,
been in one, I don't
Funny
think.
you bring up the Chateau because I have been in the Chateau on Providence Highway.
Okay.
And that's when I've been in. But
I grew up near one in Waltham. I think that one, Waltham, one's the original one.
I'm guessing Chateau would be a popular answer.
Yeah, it's right up the road from here.
A lot of people have been there. A lot of people go there regularly. There's probably also a lot of people who have driven past a Chateau countless times and have never been in.
Yeah.
So that's a good answer, even if it's not your answer. 12, do you have an answer?
Yeah, so I've been in North Woburn for years and years and years now, and I like to hit we got a nice little grip of restaurants there. We got the Lana Thai Diner, we got Nick's roast beef shop, we got Elisa's Pizza there. But there's been, for probably 15 years, there's been Pho number one. And every time I walk by the Pho place, I see people in there. They
PHO.
They got steaming hot bowls of pho. They looks like they're having a delicious meal, and I've never thought to go in. So now, with the Carl Sausage Kitchen news, I'm realizing that these places go away.
A lot of these
can't take them for granted.
A lot of these are going to be restaurant answers, but of course we're loaded here. We'll go to Matt in Woburn. Matt, a place that you've seen a million times, never been in.
Hey guys, good morning. I've lived in Woburn just about all my life. I don't know how hard this will hit for you guys, but there are people that are probably about to drive off the road. I've never had or been in Louis Pizza in Woburn.
Oh, you gotta go to Louis, guy. You gotta go to Louis.
I have never said those words out loud. Have a great day.
Thanks, man.
Wow. He's embarrassed to admit it.
It's a great pizza
Feel
place.
like shooting the breeze?
Did I do that?
Yeah, I think you did.
I did that. But I was trying to do.
No, Dave, that's a
Wasn't me.
copyrighted segment, my friend.
I would
Can't
never
be
do
using that.
I would never do that. We have two guys from Granger on the phone.
Oh, take one.
All right, hold on. Joe's. You've been in a Granger, Joe?
Yes, I have, Hardy, and I don't want to burst your bubble, but it's really not exciting. It's nothing compared to a Lowe's or a Home Depot. And here's why.
How dare you? How dare you? I can tell from the outside it's a place I want to go in. I can tell just by looking at it that this is something that I could get into. Now, and I also say this because there's an account manager for Granger on the line too. So I'm not going to let you speak ill of Granger. While Nate in New Hampshire is on hold. Yes, Nate? You work
Gentlemen, good morning. I am an account manager for Granger.
What does that mean? What do you do for Granger, Nate?
It's a fancy term for I'm in sales.
Okay.
Very good. All right. Very good.
Now, do you understand my trepidation? Do you understand my hesitancy to go into a Granger? They're for the ones who get it done, not for the ones who try to get it done and screw it up and have to ask a friend of theirs who's better at these things to help them get it done.
I can understand because I do feel like a lot of our customers that go to our branches are well-versed in a career, whether it be HVAC, plumbing, heating, et cetera.
They're contractors. They're tradesmen.
Yes. I can understand it's not typically your first place to start as a do-it-yourself type of project, but just know we do welcome you.
Okay.
If you go to the Woburn store, ask for Andy. If you come up here to Manchester, New Hampshire, ask for Janice.
Okay.
They'll take great care of you.
Do you know anything about the vibe in the Canton location, the one right there on the Westwood line?
I don't, Hardy. I cover the New Hampshire, northern Massachusetts area. My apologies.
Can you make some calls? Wait, Hardy needs help with this.
Yeah, can you call ahead for me and let them know and be stopping in there? And here's what I don't want, Nate. What can we help you with today? Can I go in there and look around? Can I just go in there and look?
Yeah. Okay. At least in Manchester, New Hampshire, you can. So come on up.
All right. Thanks, Nate. Thanks.
See, don't you feel better?
A little.
All right. So go walk on in, introduce yourself, say hi. If you work at the Canton location, and even though we get by this segment, we're on until 10. If you work at the Canton location of Granger, call in, talk to Hardy.
I don't know that there's no risk of them going out of business. I don't think this is a real threat, but it's a place that I've driven by a lot and I've never been in. Out of all the places I've never been in, Granger, I haven't. But I don't know that I need to be going to Lowe's. You can go into and just walk around, and I have on countless occasions when I didn't need anything, just to browse, just to take a look at stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do that? All right, Mark in Waltham, as that the news of Carl's Sausage Kitchen closing its doors. Been by many, many times, never went in. Do you have one of those places in your life, Mark?
Yeah, so I work in construction. And so I used to drive by this place called CJ's, and it was a diner like every day for years, and I never went into it. It closed down, and I ended up buying a house right down the street from it, and it's reopened as Murphy's, and I went into it. It's got the best damn diner food ever, but also the Chateau in Waltham is the original one, owned by the Nacera family, great family. And Granger, they got too many goddamn taglines on their ads.
What?
Trying too hard to get your
what are you talking about? They got one for the ones who get it done.
Yeah, that's pretty simple.
If you can recite it and you know who it's about, that's a hell of a tagline.
I just thought of another one. Brighton Center, Mirror Cafe, right at that light.
Okay, so we worked in Brighton for.
That's right. You go up the hill. You know what I'm talking about? 12?
Yeah, I do, John, and that's another one that
The
I never.
Mirror. It's right at that light. You go by there
next to the place that used to be Boca Grande, but is now Amigos. Is that the Mirror Cafe?
Up in that.
I don't know if you're heading towards Boston College. It's on the right hand side at that one stoplight in Brighton Center.
I miss Boca Grande. Hardy and I had many a good meal at Boca Grande.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah.
So I've driven by that place.
Oh my God!
Hundreds of times.
Miso burrito, Hardy.
Oh, come on! Don't do that to me.
Might have to get one of those today.
Dave in Dedham. What's a place you've driven by a lot and never gone in, Dave?
Boys, as a pizza aficionado, this hurts my heart to say this, but I've never been to Pleasant Cafe. I know. It's not. It's
What are
not
you
that
doing?
I-
What are you? What are you doing?
It's not that I don't want the pizza. It's just sometimes I don't have my AK-47 on me, and I don't want to risk certain death. to
Okay, Dave,
park there.
I have a feeling you're saying this to me because I lived for 13 years within walking distance of the Pleasant Cafe, and you're trying to denigrate my former neighborhood there in Rossie. Pleasant Cafe is legit another place. If you were just from out of town, you went into Pleasant Cafe, you're like, oh, what a cool retro diner. What an interesting concept. No, they've just never changed it. It's that way for a reason. And Pleasant Cafe, I will caution you, though, if you're thinking about trying it out you know what? I heard the guys on the sports of this morning talking about Pleasant Cafe. We've never gone. Oh, you want to go tonight on a Friday night? Why don't you wait a couple of days? Why don't you try on a Tuesday? Why don't you try early, in between lunch and dinner on a Saturday? Because even if you're getting takeout from Pleasant tonight, you're going to be waiting a while. You're not the only person with that idea.
All right, I got an email quickly from Aaron here.
Uh-huh.
All right, I work in construction in the trades. I've been in that Granger location before as someone who works in the trades, but admittedly still knows he's a novice. You will be fine. There's nothing grand in there, not as epic as the likes of Home Depot and Lowe's, but you'll still find a lot of tradesmen there. You will be fine to go look around. That's what I did to learn about the industry.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
Good.
Thanks, Aaron, for emailing it. I think we have sold Hardy. I think
I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. Walk on in after work today.
Completely non-related subject matter. Don and Carver is on the phone. Fred has left Don and Carver on hold for so long that he has been insulted. He has threatened to kick Fred's ass.
Oh, yeah.
And even though this has nothing to do with the topic, we're going to be talking with Cedric Maxwell next. And, Don, I don't want you to wait through another segment.
So friggin' ticked off.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about sausages.
Right.
I don't want to talk about utensils.
Don't blame you.
I don't want to talk about pizza place that I've never been to. I'm a South Shore guy, so I don't even know these places you talk about.
Ridiculous conversation.
Let me
It's
tell you
bad
why
radio.
I called, okay?
Yeah.
I called when Bria was still there, and I called to correct you, Hardy.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about Ryan Flores being on the back burner, and one of the reasons you cited was his relationship with his quarterback. Now, that's Mr. Tua. Now, Mr. Tua is one of the most average quarterbacks on the planet. His arm strength is negligible, and he has incredible talent around him. But when that talent goes down the chutes, and it has when Flores was there have been injuries. Tua was exposed for the man he is, a man with a rubber arm, and it should not be a reason that he's on the back burner. Now, the lawsuit. That's a whole different animal.
But
okay?
Don, regardless of the quarterback's talent, wouldn't you rather have a head coach that gets along with your quarterback, especially when you've said, you know what, he's not going to be the next Dan Marino down here.
I don't think he wanted
That's
him.
not, but that wasn't his call. He wasn't the GM, and if you're gonna be tasked with a roster, you want that coach to be able to work with the roster. And it's only the most important position on the team. I guess we'll disagree on this one, Don. All right, Cedric Maxwell going to join us next here on a Fredless Friday on Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub. to spend $40.
Cough it up, and let's get back to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Up the floor, Thomas. 2-on-2. Thomas to the basket. Missed it. And it's flushed home on the rebound by Avery Bradley.
Oh, Celtics doing it all good. Somebody give me a sandwich. Crackety crack crack.
What was that?
That was 8-9 years ago is what that is. Avery Bradley.
This was sent to me at 3:34 this morning. All right, I received this via email. It said, "Adam, I love you. I'm drunk. This is a rough draft, but enjoy." From Josh.
All right.
So like a little Wallach Cedric montage featuring some hits from back in the day. Thanks, Josh.
Cedric Maxwell is the color analyst on the 98.5 The Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. Cedric is brought to you by East Coast Metal Roofing. Good morning, Max.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are y'all doing today?
We're doing all right. How are you this morning?
I am doing excellent today. You know, sun is bright. Every place else in the country seems like there's snow.
Yeah, I think we might be getting a little snow tomorrow, though. I think that's what they're that's what they're saying.
A little bit. I think some of the weather people are upset because we were supposed to get pasted by a big storm, and that's not happening.
Let me jump right in here, Max. Your good friend, poolside companion, sometimes coworker, John Wallach, thoroughly unmoved by the win, the last game on that Celtics road trip.
Well, I think John is thinking in that way because he was thinking there was no joker.
Yes.
And the Celtics had, what I was impressed by, John, was the opposite way, was the fact that the Celtics played a road trip. And on the last one, a 4-game road trip like that, it's very difficult. People are thinking about getting home. There was a point in that game, Celtics could have lost it. Joe Mazzulla came out and fired Porzingis up, and I think it was Tatum because it was lack of rebounding against a very small team. So there are games in the season, John. I know it wasn't the sexiest win over the Joker, but it was a win of a team that has been playing very well.
All right. Well, I will defer to your judgment, Max, much like I always do on matters like this.
Oh.
I wanted to ask you about the Oklahoma City game, though, and it hasn't happened often in the last 2 or 3 years, but the end of the third quarter and that fourth quarter in Oklahoma City, the Celtics were beaten by a better team that day. Oklahoma City just played much better, and there are so many games where you look at it and go, the Celtics didn't shoot well. If they had done this, that, or the other thing, it was the rare time where nothing they could have done would have turned the tide in that game.
Well, I'm not sure. And again, they were up by 15 or 13 at one point in that game in the first half. And then they turned around and then they started having turnovers. And it wasn't the mistakes that OKC turned the basketball over. It was 3 times they came down offensive fouls. And I think that Oklahoma won it, but I think the Celtics also gave that game away. And on top of that, I don't think that there was who didn't play that night. Somebody didn't play that night, and it made me a little squirrely thinking about how good Oklahoma was, especially when I saw Cleveland go in there and actually beat that team.
All right, Max, you and I have been beating the drum for Peyton Pritchard all season. Fred is not here today. He's under the weather. So he is the first one to push back.
Does that mean he's drunk someplace?
No,
especially now. No, that does not mean that.
That doesn't apply to Fred no more. That ain't him no more.
He's out of that life.
I just asked, when you say somebody's under the weather on a Friday, but sometimes that gets to be,
I get it.
Okay.
But if Fred were here, I'm sure he would. I don't know if he'd be gloating because I don't know if he pays attention. But Pritchard may be. I don't know if he is reverting back to the norm a little bit lately. He hasn't been as impactful lately. I guess would be the kind way of saying it. Have you seen anything out of his game that would explain this?
I think that's the way people are guarding him. When you come in, you're a guy coming off the bench. Sometimes teams don't recognize who you are. But with Peyton Pritchard right now being the leading man in the league for the Sixth Man Award, I think that he is getting extra attention now. So he's not getting the easier shots. he's going to have to create situations for himself, or his teammates are going to have to create easier shot opportunities. In OKC, they got up on him a little bit tougher. They made it tough. But I don't worry about Pritchard. In these big games, the bigger the game, I think Pritchard has always kind of come through. He's a tremendous shooter. What I love about him, he competes. And you don't find a lot of guys in this league that have the compete level that he has. So I wouldn't worry about him at all. I think that he's going to have to just figure it out that I'm going to have to get shots other ways now because teams are, putting me on the scouting report.
I'm wondering, Max, you've seen Cleveland and you just got a good look at Oklahoma City. There was something we asked Chris Forsberg about earlier this week, and he brought it up, I think, after the Denver game. Do you think the Celtics...
Who'd you say?
Chris Forsberg.
Never heard of him. Okay. Oh, yeah, I like Chris.
So he discussed the following. Do you think that the Celtics need to make a small trade to tweak their lineup to get ready for possible playoff series against teams like Cleveland, or do you like the roster the way it is and they're just kind of in neutral here during the dog days of winter?
I believe the latter. I believe that they're in neutral right now. I think that they're just trying to get through it and figure things out. The thing that we have not seen a lot of is the complete Celtic team. We haven't seen the starting lineup intact for more than 10% of the year with Porzingis coming back in and out. What I liked the other day against Denver, you saw a more aggressive Porzingis shooting the basketball. So I wouldn't concern myself. If they did make a small trade, it wouldn't bother me. But I'm very confident right now in the Pritchards of the world and Hausers of the world. The way they get it done on the other side, I just said I don't think they need one. If they made one, I wouldn't be mad.
It's funny you mentioned that, as we're kind of in the neutral phase for some teams right now in the season, and for somebody like me who was, I guess, just kind of ambivalent about the in-season tournament, the Emirates NBA Cup, whatever it's called. Like, Max, I think that's the worst thing in the world, to just not care one way or the other. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I just didn't care. Having said that, right now, I could go for a little something where games were actually on the line. Maybe that's been my issue with that NBA Cup all along. It happens too early in the season. I'm still watching these teams and interested in them from it's a new season standpoint. To have it happen as early in the season as it does, maybe if it happened right about now, I think it might have a little more juice, because this is the time of year when I think just the eyeballs of sports fans need a little extra incentive to keep watch on the NBA.
I totally agree with you. I think that if you look at when the game is played, like early December, I think that people right now are starting to say, it's football season still. There's so many things going on. The thing that interests me when it comes to eyeballs and viewership and how you look at it is you see these games sometimes and you see these different courts that they use. You realize that the Celtics have a special court. They only use twice a year. These other places use twice a year. So from a viewer, from your eyeball, the naked eye, you look at it and going, there's something different about this game. And then sometimes the way it's played, a little bit more oomph in their step when you think about what they're playing for. But I was telling a guy that I played with in the NBA at one time, and Maurice Chicks, I said, how do you think a game would be played if we were playing for $500,000 for a game or $5 million for a game, a player? He said there will be an ambulance waiting outside, waiting to take people away. I think that's how it would be viewed and how the game would be played. So I understand what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying, but I think just wait and see how it goes.
Max, you spent some time in Los Angeles. Obviously, you've seen what's going on out there. Have you talked to your good buddy James Worthy about how things are going on out there?
I am not. I got another good buddy that played with me out there, Norm Nixon.
Oh, yeah.
Who's married to Debbie Allen, the actress. And I see some of the homes in the Palisade area. And I'm going to give Norm a call today just to make sure that he was okay. it was some devastation. It looked like rows and rows and rows of homes. It showed on the video the other day in an area I didn't live. I lived a little bit south of LA, but there was some devastation, which was crazy. And the fact that the Lakers might not play a couple of games, that is unreal.
No, Steve Kerr was talking about how the surreal nature of it. J.J. Redick's home is gone.
Kerr lost his childhood home.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And his mother, I guess, still lived there, but
it had to move out. He was talking how his father used to teach at UCLA, so he knows the trip from Palisades to the UCLA campus, and all of that's gone. All the houses on that trip are gone.
I heard them saying about J.J. Redick, they had evacuated him, but I didn't know that he had lost his home.
Yeah, that was the news this morning, that his home had burned.
Ooh, I mean, the memories, I think that's what I really feel for people like that. You can rebuild the homes, but the memories that go along with that and burn down, that to me is so senseless and so crazy when you think about the people who are affected in that way.
Yeah, awful. Well, Max, we appreciate you taking the time this morning, as always. I'll pass along. What would you like me to pass along to Fred if I speak with him and he's still under the weather? Anything you want to tell him?
2 words: pina colada.
Okay. Okay. I'm not sure Max has a full knowledge of the history of Fred Toucher. He was completely off the wagon, Max, for a time. I mean, he was in the booby hatch over this stuff. It's a dangerous road for him to go down.
Well, I hope that he feels better. Just tell him to smell the coffee, and Peyton Pritchard is going to be that dude going forward.
Pass that along.
That's something that'll perk him right up. All right, good stuff, Max.
Good to talk to you, Max.
Appreciate it.
All right.
There he goes, Cedric Maxwell.
I'm not well versed on the history. I think we just learned.
You know what, though? That's kind of nice that you can have a relationship with someone, even a professional one, and know that this person is not all consumed with my personal life and my issues. No, it matters not to Max.
Right.
It's not.
Life goes on, baby.
Not a concern
Move
with
through
him.
it. Yeah.
Oh dear. Kendra is going to join us here at 9:00. Her personal life.
A lot of questions for Kendra.
Well, I mean, it was
personal questions for Kendra.
It was not a business trip. It was a personal trip that she was on that ended in near tragedy, and we will discuss that with her happening here in a little while. And yeah, we'll get to some of her picks for the playoff weekend for both college and the NFL, but. More on the hiring search for the Patriots and their head coach. We talked with Burt Breer earlier this morning and what's happening today. All of that coming up here on the Fredless Friday on Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Vrabel would potentially consider. Now, the Patriots have a jump start on that. Again, he is literally in the room with them right now, so that would theoretically give them the leg up. But we will see if the Raiders figure into his thinking in the future.
Things that I learned during the break with Hardy. You play hardball, man. That was mean what you just did.
Well, LBF from the, whatever it is, the oldies station or whatever
They're down the hall, whatever they do. Right. But, you know, she approached me in the kitchen and said, so what was the wrap up to that? I heard Hardy's new driver story. And if you weren't with us, it was in the 6 o'clock hour. You got a new driver and you took it to Topgolf and it was really cold. She was completely unimpressed by that story and told me so. I said,
now, did she hear the way I told it, or did she miss the ending and wanted to know how it ended?
I think it's both. I think she heard the way you told it and then missed the ending. She was curious, and I told her what the ending was, and she was wildly unimpressed. I said, go talk to the man yourself. If you're going to insult him, go do it to his face. And she came in here, and you completely smacked her around. That was amazing what you just did.
So 2 things. I didn't smack her around. Instead, what I told her was something that was told to me in confidence, and I was told not to tell her. So I said, oh, you didn't like my story on the air? Well, I know something that I'm not supposed to tell you. So why don't you obsess a little less on what I talk about on the air and obsess a little bit more on the secret that I'm keeping from you?
And
LBF.
you know what? You could see the wheels turning in her head. She was like, wait a minute. What?
So number 1, that worked. Number 2,
it worked.
The reason why she was unimpressed with the end of the story, sorry, Waldek, is because you told it.
I see.
And the reason why it left her...
Factually, I told her what the truth was. The facts weren't good enough. It's how you spun it while saying the exact same thing as I did.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
I see.
Yes. Okay. It was your telling. It was your payoff that left her flat.
I see.
Okay?
Right. Very good.
So it wasn't even me.
Keep telling yourself.
I thought she heard the whole thing and didn't like it. She didn't hear the end. When she came to you for the end, the way you told it was like, oh, that's not so
You
good.
went to Topgolf and it was cold. And she's like, oh, that's not much of a story at all.
You could tell me the ending of The Usual Suspects, and it would probably leave me a little
That's
unimpressed.
not true. That's one of the best endings to a movie I've seen in a long time.
But if you were to describe it, it would probably put me to sleep.
See, now, why are you taking this out on me? She's the one that was unimpressed, not me. I sat here in rapt attention and suffered through that story.
Because you made me look bad.
No, I think that was on you. You did that yourself. It had nothing to do with me.
You made me look bad to a coworker.
I see. Well, verbally, you took it out on her, so I'm sure you feel awesome now.
I do feel a little bit better. I am a little worried, though, that she's going to go to the person that I told her I am keeping the secret with and pry it out of them.
No, you know what? I don't think she fully got it. Now that you explained the connection to me before we came back on, I don't think she got it. I don't think she went there.
But telling someone,
I think she thinks it's work related.
No. When someone tells you something in confidence and you end up keeping that secret, right? That's one thing. But if you then tell the person, like, hey, so-and-so and I have a secret about you, you're essential. What's worse, the secret that you're keeping or the fact that you're keeping the secret? So I kind of threw that person under the bus, even without telling the secret.
That's a tough call.
By virtue of just telling them that you have a secret about them, you're really doing them dirty.
It'd probably be. Yeah, I think you're right.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I got enough friends. It's fine.
How many do you have?
Like 4.
I didn't think you could count them on more than one hand.
I can.
But you keep them close to the vest, and
Sure.
you're really loyal to those 4 people in your life.
Yeah,
good
that's
for
fine.
you.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Mike Vrabel interviewing with the Patriots yesterday. Burt Breer was in here earlier talking about something that I hadn't even really considered. Let's say the Patriots need to do their best job of making this look like an authentic search. And for that reason, they can have a deal in place. They can have an agreement in principle, but they can't actually do it. They can't sign it. They can't announce it for a couple more days. They need to go through the motions of having some more conversations, interviews even, really go through the whole process. If Mike Vrabel also takes this time and says, sure, Well, if you can't officially offer it to me yet, we can't sign it and can't announce it. Yeah, you do whatever you got to do. If that affords him the opportunity to have a few more conversations, I guess there does exist the possibility that he gets enamored with something else and decides to do that instead.
If this goes into next week, and they're meeting with Ben Johnson this morning, if Ben Johnson said, great, I want to come here, I love the quarterback, I can do a lot with him, but I want to work with this GM, or I want to work with these 5 people, and Elliott Wolf is not at the top of my list. Suppose this winds up going into next week, and now you've blown the window to talk to the coordinators you really needed to talk to. They should have put a request for Aaron Glenn on Monday and not Wednesday, which could not have made them look worse.
Or more obvious or transparent,
if
whatever.
This goes into next week and they don't have a deal done with Vrabel, they're screwed, because a lot of the candidates have already met with a lot of other teams. Even though you have the quarterback that everyone wants to work with, you have an epic disaster you're trying to clean up from, too.
That's it. And that's the thing we talked with Bert about. Other than Drake May, what would make you want to coach the New England Patriots next year?
Nothing, unless you're able to bring in all of your own people that you feel happy with. And you say, okay, we want you to work with Elliott Wolf. Great. Elliott Wolf chose Drake May. Props to him. But what else did he bring you? What else positive did Elliott Wolf bring? I'm an outside guy coming into this organization. Meanwhile, you have a guy like Tom Telesco who just got fired by the Raiders that nailed his first 3 draft picks. Brock Bowers in the teens, and he got 2 offensive linemen that started for him in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. That guy's sitting out there, and he also has experience with the Chargers. If you're given the opportunity to work with Tom Telesco or Elliott Wolf, who are you working with?
Yeah, I'm working with Tom.
I mean, and if I'm an outside guy coming into this situation and I'm not Mike Vrabel and enamored with the owner and the mystique of the Patriots, and I was there for when they were good, and I have that, I can bring them back to glory field to me. There are a lot of things I want to change.
See, and
is Robert Kraft listening to that and saying, well, I don't want to change X, Y, and Z, because I'm not convinced he does yet.
No, I'm not convinced of that either. But if it's a sticking point in any way with Vrabel, and he lets them know throughout this, this process and their meetings and their interviews that he says, look, there's a pretty good chance that Elliott and I are not going to see eye to eye. I mean, I had a conversation with him, and I know where you guys are at, but there are certain things that need to be done around here. Is that any kind of a deal breaker? I hope the Patriots and the Kraft say, oh, absolutely not. If you needed a different GM, that's completely doable, and we can talk about that. And I know if Fred were here, he's not, he's sick. But if Fred were here, he would, go on and on about selecting Drake May wasn't a surefire thing, that there were plenty of people who said you should get a receiver instead. Yeah, a lot of callers and a lot of people on Twitter were saying that. But to me, it was so painfully obvious what the team needed to do, what they should do, and that was get a quarterback. Now, the fact that they got the quarterback that was left there at 3 I don't give them a whole lot of credit for doing that. What I may have given them credit for in hindsight is had they decided to trade up and actually lose some draft stock to go get Jaden Daniels, because he does look like maybe right now the slightly better option. They're close, but you can't convince me that I should be giving Elliott Wolf all kinds of credit for taking Drake May 3rd overall.
And by the way, the idea, and I didn't have a chance to get into it with Bert, I would have liked to, we just ran out of time. The idea of firing the GM now before the draft, you've seen Tennessee, the team with the number 1 overall pick in the draft, fire their GM. You saw the Raiders just fire their GM. They have they're picking...
And look, I'm on the hook for this one too. I'm the one, a week or two later is saying like, you really can't do that. You're in the middle of the draft. So, oh, wait a second. 80% of the work for the draft is done already. You can fire your GM right now. You can fire the GM before the draft. You can fire him in January. You can fire him in May. You can do all kinds of things.
The Raiders have the 6th overall pick in the draft. They just fired their GM.
Yep.
Tennessee, number 1, you can say, okay, it's obvious who they're going to take. I don't think it's obvious. The number one draft pick is not obvious this year. And more than likely, if you decide you don't like the quarterbacks, you could trade down. That's the GM's responsibility, regardless of how much legwork you've done. I think it's very feasible that you fire Elliott Wolf.
We're giving away these tickets right now, 12?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Because I told you about them.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Whatever
Didn't
you
we?
want.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Caller 10 to the contest line right now, 617-931-0985. Scores a pair of GA Plus wristbands for the day of their choice for Boston Calling. And you're automatically entered to be upgraded to VIP. They listen and have made major improvements over the last year, including more water stations, lower prices on some tickets. I'm telling you, it's already the best run festival I've ever been to, and they're going to make it even better. BostonCalling.com for more info. If you didn't win, if you don't win today, we're giving you another chance over at 98.5, thesportshub.com.
And we should mention, too, it's not on the copy, but tickets are on sale now at BostonCalling.com.
There you go. Caller 10 to the contest line right now, 617-931-0985. Kendra Middleton joins us next here on Toucher and Hardy.
other 5 teams with vacancies. The NFL yesterday moved Monday's wildcard round playoff game between the Rams and Minnesota from LA to Glendale, Arizona because of the wildfires there. The Bruins played better last night, but they still lost their 6th in a row, 4-1 to Tampa. Morgan Geeky's team seems to be in a lot of trouble at the moment.
It's unacceptable at this level at this time of year, and you know, it's going to grow. Frustration's going to keep growing if we don't clean things up.
Mason Lohrei scored the only goal of the night for the Bruins. This is the longest losing streak for the franchise in a decade. They visit the Florida Panthers tomorrow. Celtics play Sacramento at TD Garden tonight. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The Red Sox have signed Tanner Houck, Garrett Crochet, and Cutter Crawford to one-year contracts, avoiding salary arbitration. And in college football, Notre Dame beats Penn State 27-24. They are through to the national championship game. The other national semifinalists tonight at the Cotton Bowl with Texas facing Ohio State. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Dr. Matthew Lopresti and Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, the hair doctor of Hardy, Charlie McAvoy, and Tuukka Rask. Call 1-800-GET-HAIR for your free consultation. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
New England plays here.
Down the right side, there's a separation. Touchdown pass. Perfect dive from Drake May.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Fred describes himself in 7 words.
A guy in tights and a cape.
And Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Dutcher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub.
It's a Fredless Friday on Toucher and a Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Fred actually sick today. Not a typical Friday illness. Not a Scott Zolak June water heater mishap type of absence. This is real. Fred is sick. And now Kendra Middleton is here to, as if things weren't okay already, to make everything right with the world. Kendra is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Good morning, Kendra.
Good morning, boys. How are we?
Good to see you.
Good to
see you in
too.
one piece. We were really worried about death-defying stunt maneuvers in Indianapolis over the week.
Yeah, what a I had a bad weekend. I had a bad weekend of gambling. I had a bad weekend of driving. I didn't make it to the game. The weather sucked. I did get Waffle House as a consolation prize, so I think that's at least a win.
We saw the bottles of wine there, too. That was good.
I had half of one of those. I left one for the maintenance lady.
Were they splits?
They were like the little baby ones that you buy in the lobby. I was like, oh, I'll have a drink. It's, I don't really ever
because they were
big. Crazy.
They were bigger than like Nips.
Yeah, it was the really crappy cheap tiny bottles of wine that you see in like a lobby somewhere. That's what it was.
Okay, was it like a 4 ounce or
probably something like that.
Right. So all right, let's bring everybody back. When Kendra was here last Friday. Wow, it seems like so much longer ago. You were telling us about this odyssey that you were about to embark on, which involved what? Tell us what you were planning on and what actually happened.
So someone that I know drove home for the holidays because they were going to be there for a while, so they wanted to have their car. So they drove from Boston to Dallas. And so I love...
which number one?
Agree.
Right, Can we just start with, because what they have are rental car companies.
Yes.
And one can fly...
Oh, that's right.
...from Boston to Dallas.
You do not have to justify this to me. This is not a me. I understand. I'm with you. I gave them the same amount of crap.
Oh, so you think that's crazy, but driving 1900 miles and not seeing a football game isn't?
Okay, we'll get to that. Okay, so your friend could have flown to Dallas, rented a car, driven around, and then flown back to Boston.
Well, we went over the reason that they couldn't fly off the air.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't remember, but okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Nothing like speaking in code for a guy who wasn't involved in the conversation to begin with.
Which is not a reason at all. If it's that important to you, get some while you're in Dallas.
You're not telling me anything I don't know.
Because you can't find that in Dallas?
No, it's because they had it already and couldn't fly it back or ship it back.
whatever.
Okay.
I understand.
Got
Hardy,
it.
you are not telling me anything that I didn't say to this person.
So instead, what you did was after you finished up here on Friday, what did you do?
I went to work Saturday morning, and then immediately after I got off Saturday, because I love a road trip. My friends know that I'm a sucker for a road trip. Anytime anyone's moving, anytime anyone needs to like move a car somewhere or anything like that, I am the person. I love being in the car. And like I said, any chance, any excuse to go to a Waffle House, I will take. I have driven from
like a dog. You want to go bye-bye in the car?
Yeah, yes, that is yes, Hardy. I've never felt so seen by Hardy in my entire existence. I'm literally a golden retriever in the car.
Listen, this is not to call you a dog in any way. This is a life goal that we should all have. Endeavor to be more like your dog.
Yeah.
Right? Enjoy going for a ride in the car. Play a little, nap a little, every day. Right, love unashamedly and without reservation.
Curl up in the chair when you're tired. Sure.
No thoughts, just vibes.
This is chicken noodle soup for the soul that I'm giving you right now, Wallach. Right, so this is not a bad thing, but this is Kendra. She loves to go bye-bye in the car.
I do. I love to go bye-bye in the car with my snacks and my CCR on the radio. Okay.
All right.
That is me.
So you worked on Saturday.
Yep. I went home, ran the dog, went straight to the airport, flew to Dallas. We got in the car, made it.
When did you leave Dallas in the car?
Immediately once I landed.
Oh God, this is awful. As bad as this ends up being, like this just sucks.
Oh my
from
God.
the jump. So did she pick you up at the airport in the car? This is awful.
Oh my God,
this is so bad.
So we got to St. Louis that night, and everything was fine.
So you fly from Boston to Dallas 3.5, 4 hours?
Like 3 hours, yeah, something like that.
Okay, and immediately get in the car and drive hundreds of miles to St. Louis.
How far is that?
Like 6.5 hours, 7 hours, something like that.
Okay.
Like I said, I had my.
What kind of car?
It was a new Audi S5.
Oh, all right. So nice car.
Four-wheel drive, nice car, and that was another
all-wheel drive. But go ahead.
Yeah, so it wasn't something that we were concerned about with the weather. So we left St. Louis, and it said that we had a 6-hour drive. We left at like 5:30 in the morning, so that we would be there by 11:30, 12:30.
And from St. Louis, you're going to
Indy for the game.
All right, and you're not going to go through Chicago.
No.
You're just going to go straight from St. Louis to Indianapolis.
Yeah, which you cut that like corner of Illinois at the bottom.
Sure.
And so the issue was that, and I've lived in New England for 5 or 6 winters now. Like, winter is nothing to me. I don't like driving in the snow. Who does? But I have never seen we get to that corner of Illinois, and we'd seen 0 plows and 0 salt, and they knew all of this was coming. And I'm not stupid. I know we're driving through the Midwest in a crazy storm, whatever. I'd already booked my flight. It was just one of those things. Still had to get home, whatever. And the entirety of that morning, we didn't see. Did I send you the video? No, I sent Fred the video of the just row and row and row of semis just turned over. It was crazy. Absolutely. It was just a semi truck graveyard. And so
on the interstate?
Yeah, just dozens of them just turned over. And so we were maybe driving 35 miles an hour. There was a semi in front of us. We hit a bridge. The snow off the top of a semi bounces off the top of it and falls in front of us, and we hit it and slid into a ditch, probably going like 35 miles an hour, spun the car around, and we'd been sitting there stuck for probably about an hour, and we keep just watching, waiting, because we keep seeing cars hit that same patch of ice that we did, and we keep seeing them just kind of swerve and almost also wind up in the same ditch. And eventually another car hits that patch of ice, spins out, and misses T-boning me by maybe a foot. I have another picture of how close the car was to me. It was one of the craziest things in my life. Like, I genuinely saw my life flash before my eyes because I thought that this car was going to T-bone us.
Did you at any point get out of the car once you were in the ditch?
Yeah, we did, to see if we could like maybe put like some cardboard under the tires or something like that. But once we saw cars start to hit that same patch of ice, we got back in because we knew that that was probably the safer thing to do.
And there's nothing around anywhere. There
nothing.
are no buildings.
Hours. And so
where were you when this happened? What
Illinois,
state?
that like corner of Illinois.
Oh, still in that corner of Illinois. Okay.
And so probably within like the 3 hours that we were stuck, we saw one plow. That's it. 3 hours and no salt. It was the crazy, and like I said, I knew that we were driving through, a snowstorm in the Midwest, that type of thing, but it just felt like an area of the country that would be prepared for that. So we didn't really even consider it. So I didn't make it to the game. We're fine. We're alive. The car had a flat tire, whatever. It's all fine.
So you stayed there for how long in the car?
Probably like 3 hours.
Until what happened? Like a
trooper came.
A state trooper, an
Yeah.
Illinois state trooper
Yep.
showed up.
And he was awesome. He was so great.
You called for like a tow truck before this or anything?
Yeah. So the only plow we saw, like I mentioned, was who stopped to help us, and that was I don't know what kind of weird miracle that was, but that was the only person we really saw. And the trooper came and sat with us for probably the last hour, and he saw that people kept hitting that same patch of ice, and so he parked between where they would spin off and us and the other car, which was really also generous of him. So yeah, we didn't make it to the game. We're fine, but it was a crazy I'd never been in a car accident.
So where did you go? The tow truck shows up. It's still snowing. The roads are still treacherous.
We stopped for the night.
Did you get into the tow truck with the driver and ride with him to somewhere?
No, we didn't know the tire was flat until later. So we stopped, got to a hotel. We were just like obviously emotionally exhausted at that point.
Hold on. So they pulled the car out.
Yeah.
And then you drove on the flat tire.
We didn't know it was flat because it wasn't at the time.
Well, all right. See this? Are you confused by this?
No. Well, I mean, were they run flats? Maybe it wasn't flat.
I have no idea. That is above my pay grade. But we stopped for the night, and thank God we did, because 2 miles up the road there was a 40-car pileup. So we would have been stuck anyway.
So the tow truck gets the car out of the ditch. You make it. How much further do you drive?
A mile, maybe 2.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not. My hair color is natural, Hardy, but I'm not that dumb.
Did you know that there was like a safe place to be a mile away? Had you known it was that close, would you have walked there like hours beforehand?
No, absolutely not. Just because before we even wrecked, we probably saw 40 cars that had wrecked prior to us, which I think is probably why it took us a while to get somebody to help us, just because they were so busy.
All right.
Yeah.
So you go out the next morning, the tire is flat.
The tire wasn't flat until the monitor didn't come on until we got home. It felt like something maybe with the suspension or like the sensors or something like that.
Wait a minute. So the tire was flat or wasn't flat?
No, it wasn't until we got home that the sensor started going off.
Okay, I thought you knew the tire
You got pulled out of the ditch.
Yeah.
No, I was saying there was no damage to the car at all from that until we got back, is what I'm saying.
Back to Boston?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hardy's dad, senses are going crazy right now.
No, I'm as confused as he is.
This is Saturday night when you get to the hotel.
Saturday afternoon, yeah.
And that was your plan all along, to stay somewhere.
No, we were going to go to Indy.
Straight from Dallas to Indy?
No. We stopped in St. Louis, and we were going from St. Louis to Indy.
Oh, okay. That's the part.
And then we were going to stop in Indy for the night.
So this was Sunday morning.
This is Saturday afternoon. Or Sunday morning when we leave the hotel.
Sunday morning. They drove. All right. Let's see if I have this right. Flew to Dallas, got in the car, drove to St. Louis, stayed overnight, woke up Sunday morning,
had
six more hours to Indianapolis, had the accident in that little corner of Illinois. Then they had to stay overnight in that little corner of Illinois, woke up, drove home.
No, we did Cleveland, stopped for the night, and then drove home.
Okay.
And no other damage to the car?
No, oddly, I don't know if you saw the picture, but it looked pretty bad, but we were shocked that nothing was wrong.
I did get the picture. I didn't have it sent to me personally. I guess that's reserved for the other host.
Well, you didn't text me and ask if I was okay like everybody else. So.
I don't even have your phone number.
Well, you have my Instagram.
I'm not going to DM you.
You have before when I was sick?
Yeah, that was nice of me.
I'm not
nice
on the
of
email chain. I'm not on the text chain. I find out like everybody else does.
Hey, you messaged me too.
I did message you, and what did I say? I said, thank goodness you're okay.
I know. Very nice.
Very happy that you are all right.
Thank you. Me too. Yeah, it was my first car accident.
That's kind of shocking because you are in your, mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
And how many road trips have you been on?
Oh, my God. I've driven every inch of I-10, almost every inch of 95, every inch of...
So this trip, all the driving you did, 1,000 miles?
Easily.
1,500 miles?
Probably something.
And you didn't see the game.
Yeah.
So you just were in the car driving.
We were in the
ditch. And you followed that dumbass storm home.
But she's happy as a clam because all she wants to do is go for a ride in the car.
And I wanted Waffle House. We were in the ditch, and I had NFL Red Zone posted up in the corner. That's all we were doing was just watching Red Zone.
All right.
That's remarkable.
Okay, that transitions nicely into football. Not necessarily the game that you missed, because
I'm glad I did.
I mean, really.
Yeah, I love Joe Flacco, and that's the only reason I was going to go in the first place. That and because I wanted to go for a ride in the car. But
Instead, let's turn our attention to the game that happened last night, the one that's happening tonight, all the games this weekend and on Monday, and Kendra's thoughts on those games. We will do all of that as we move along here with Kendra, the cross-country traveler. And Fred, who is not here, but I'm sure will be thrilled to know that you are back and safe and in one piece. So all that happening next year on Toucher and Hardy. Stay with us.
alarm clock sounds like this, this is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, the Sports Hub.
Around the NFL with Toucher and Hardy.
They are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
All right, it's Toucher and Hardy without Fred here this morning, but Kendra Middleton is here to go around the NFL, and we'll start with last night's game. Did you have any interest in the outcome of the Orange Bowl last night, Kendra? And by interest, you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I told Dan and CT on our show on Saturday that I probably would have picked Penn State with a gun to my head, but this was the one game that I really didn't have anything specific as far as a feeling towards. It just felt like it was going to be a crapshoot, and it wound up being actually a really good game.
What about tonight's game, Ohio State, Texas?
I think that Ohio State is playing just in a league of their own at the moment, but Texas, when they're on, and when they're off, they're so off, it's unbelievable. The thing is, and I've said this the entirety of Ohio State's season, it feels like the only thing that can kill them is Ryan Day, just because he continuously does so. And I said this on Saturday, but after their team got in that fight at the end of the season with Michigan, and Ryan Day was just standing there with nothing, like he wasn't doing anything, I was like, this feels like a season killer, but it feels the exact opposite at this point.
But it's a weird spread. Ohio State is what, 6.5, whatever they are. This is basically a home game for Texas, no?
Yeah, it should be. But that's the thing, is that both of these crowds travel really well. You know what I mean? Like, Ohio State's not going to miss a playoff opportunity to go and watch their team. I know people who were traveling to this game to watch this from Cleveland and like that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It feels like Ohio State is just a world beater right now. But when their offense gets rolling, they have chunk plays like better. Just the chunk plays that they're able to get off. I think what's going to be the difference maker is this postseason, we haven't seen Ryan Day put packages together for Arch Manning, and I think that that's the big difference, is that they need to have some packages for him. It seems like that's kind of a key when you can work both quarterbacks, and the narrative has always been when you have two quarterbacks, you have none. But I don't feel that way about this Texas team.
Is there one more question? Anytime touchdown for Jeremiah Smith, is that on a board or not?
If you drive to New Hampshire or Rhode Island.
Okay. Very good. Very good. I had forgotten about that little little part. Yeah, that's on me.
That little hiccup there.
That little hiccup there.
Don't worry about it.
I forgot about that.
Wallach actually is on an offshore book.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that increase it? Would that increase his Riz?
Have we found a bit for Riz Wallach yet?
No, they haven't gotten to it yet. It's going to happen though. Don't worry.
Let's start with the early game tomorrow in the NFL. 4:30, Texans and Chargers. Texans are hosting, and they are 3-point dogs in this playoff game. What do you got, Kendra?
I got the Chargers in this game. I'm also going to go with Ladd McConkey anytime, plus 135. It feels like whenever he's plus money, it feels right to hit. So I think that the Chargers are the better team, better defense, better coach, CJ, better quarterback. I know that I've had this narrative going for quite some time that I'm unsure about Justin Herbert's clutch gene, just because in the postseason for the entirety of his career, whether you want to talk about his pro career or whatever, he's had a hard time. So I'm hoping he can get rid of that narrative for me, because I have a decent amount of money on this game. But, I think it's Chargers or nothing here. The Texans are just so injured, and I get that they're at home, but the Texans crowd, I've been to that stadium. It doesn't really bother me. They're not super loud. I get that the Chargers aren't going to have any fans in that crowd either, just because LA football doesn't really seem to have any fans. So I don't think that that's an argument either way.
Chargers are the probably third or fourth biggest team in LA.
Yeah,
Raiders number one.
Yep. That's right.
I would say either the Rams or 49ers number 2 and 3, and Chargers before.
Raiders are number 1. That's a good call. That's very true.
Okay. Also the lowest total of the weekend at 42.5.
Yeah. The Chargers defense is awesome. They have been all season. They don't let up points, and I don't think that the Texans can score just because all their receivers are hurt. So I think that that's the big thing here. I don't have a play on the total, but it is the Chargers for me, and I got Ladd McConkey.
All right. Tomorrow night, it's the Ravens and Steelers. Ravens are at home, of course. And our 9.5-point favorites is what I have, Matt, over Pittsburgh.
I am just going to go with a Pat Freiermuth anytime in this. It's plus 300. I feel like those are great odds. When he's active, he gets active early and he's active often. So if they can activate him, I think that it's a great opportunity for him. No Zay Flowers is the big difference for me here in this game. I think that this spread has just gotten a little too silly. I think the Steelers can cover it. Anytime Mike Tomlin's a dog, I think that that's a great look for him. So Zay Flowers is the guy that shreds the Steelers defense. And now that he's not playing, I think that that's huge.
I have such a hard time watching Pittsburgh Steelers games and playoff games too. I mean, don't you just think this game could be 9-3? Just the most boring ass game, and you would need to bet on it to watch it.
It feels like it's about to be a Big Ten football game.
Yeah, it's just miserable. And by the way, that whole losing Zay Flowers, that's big. That's huge.
Because he's who shreds that Steelers defense, yeah?
Yes, that's huge for that. That'll keep the score down.
Yeah, you could probably get me to look at a Lamar anytime or something like that. The odds just weren't where I wanted them when I was doing some research. But if it's in game and it feels like it's going that way, that might be something I could get to the window on.
All right, let's jump to Sunday where the Bills will host the Broncos. Bills laying at 8.5. Kind of surprised that it is not the biggest spread of the weekend.
So my thing here, rookie quarterbacks or quarterbacks who are having their first playoff game typically don't have a great showing. I was really surprised how Bo Nix played in his last game, so maybe that's not the narrative here. It just feels like it's the Bills' time. Despite losing, Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs last year, they're here. They've, kind of dominated the AFC. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Lions. It feels like this is not the spot where the Bills lose. The number's too high for a playoff game for me, so I don't have anything in this game, actually.
All right. How about what I am looking at, and a lot of people as the best game of the weekend, Packers at Eagles. That is 4:30 Sunday afternoon. Packers, 4.5-point dogs in Philadelphia.
Philly, here's the thing. Jalen Hurts, that's going to be the difference maker. I want to see how he feels in warm-ups just because do you guys feel like it took him longer than usual to get out of concussion protocol? It felt like it was a while.
No, not really.
How long was it?
2 games? I feel like that's a while. I mean, a game and a half, I guess, technically, but that's a while.
Yeah, I mean, based on how it is now, if it's not actually a concussion, I guess, the Drake May concussion protocol this past year.
Yeah, Philadelphia is everything to play for the last game of the season. I mean, I would be more alarmed if Philly needed to win the last game of the year, but they didn't. So.
No, they didn't, and I would have protected my player as well. But for me, he wasn't removed from concussion protocol. That's the thing. He stayed in it, so that was the difference maker for me. I think it's Philly or nothing here. Once again, feels like one of those teams that are world beaters. Jordan Love, I am not convinced that Jordan Love is the guy. I feel like the Packers have probably been living a little bit of this season on luck. So I'm going to go with an A.J. Brown anytime here. I feel like it's Eagles or nothing. That's it.
45.5 on the total.
I could probably...
I wouldn't touch it.
No, I feel like
I wouldn't touch it.
I was going to say, that feels right.
That does.
That feels way too sharp, yeah.
Okay. All right. Commanders, Buccaneers. They're in Tampa for this one, and it's a 3-point Tampa Bay favorite on this line.
I think, despite the fact that I just said that rookies and first-time quarterbacks starting in the postseason struggle, I watched Spencer Rattler carve the Buccaneers in the first half last weekend, which is concerning for me. So I kind of lean the Commanders here. Once again, you can call me the player prop princess this week, I guess. I'm going A.J. Brown and Mike Evans once again. I'm going to go back to the Mike Evans well until it runs dry. It just feels like he's the guy, especially due to their injuries. So I'm rocking with player props for the most part this weekend, but it feels like the Bucs could get got just because I watched their defense suck last weekend.
Well, let me ask you a question. I have a friend of mine that wanted me to ask you this because they knew that you were going to be on today, and he wanted to ask about the Commanders' odds on winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, I was looking at them last night, and they're super long. I can probably pull them up right now, but... no.
He's all about Jaden Daniels, obviously. He's all about Jaden Daniels.
I get the Jaden Daniels love, but what about this team other than him and Terry McLaurin make you feel?
There isn't. McLaurin had the best year of his life, and he's got a quarterback finally throwing him the football that he loves, but I don't agree with that anyway. If I was forced to bet on a quarterback between these two teams to reach the Super Bowl, I would bet Baker Mayfield before I'd bet Jaden Daniels.
I have Commanders at plus 4,000.
Yeah, it's 4,500 on DraftKings right now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just a silly bet.
course it is.
Unless you think that unless you really, really, really believe that they're going to win this weekend, you take it and you pull a Hardy and you cash out.
Boom, baby.
But everybody has friends like this that, they get a feeling into their head and they refuse to shake it, and that's how everyone loses money.
You put 100 on the Commanders to win the Super Bowl this weekend, and if they carve up Tampa, right, you can
Sell.
cash that thing for $112.
So I know that we're anti-parlay on Dan and I's show, but I know that that's probably what people are looking for to keep themselves interested in this weekend, so I've got two of them for you.
Okay.
My first one, I have C.J. Stroud, Sam Darnold, and Lamar Jackson to combine for 6+ passing touchdowns.
Stroud, who is it? Stroud, who else?
It's C.J. Stroud,
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson, and Sam Darnold to combine for 6+ passing touchdowns.
That's interesting.
Ooh, I don't know, man. I mean,
six.
I don't know.
6 is 6 wins.
No, yes. So you 6+ passing touchdowns.
Okay,
So you six
you win with 6 or more.
Yep. And the odds on that are plus 145.
I don't hate that.
Me either. But I've got a real degen one for you. I told Hardy that I had this going into the show. This is real degeneracy right here.
To the point where she couldn't remember it and had to pull it up.
Yes.
Okay.
I told Hardy, I was like, I'm going to be on my phone for a second, but this is why, is because I actually have to read this. So I have a 3-leg parlay. I have Ladd McConkey and Nico Collins to each record 5+ receiving yards in each quarter. That's plus 1,100.
Oh, I hate these quarter things.
I have Derrick Henry and Najee Harris to each record 5+ rushing yards in each quarter. That's plus 550. And then I have Justin Jefferson and Puka Nacua to each record 5+ receiving yards in each quarter, plus 650. You put $5 on it, $3,000 as your cash out.
That's not a bad bet. That's not a bad bet at
all
all.
about 5+ yards a quarter from all those guys. That's it. $3,000 for $5.
I think the Stroud Jackson Darnold bet's a lot worse than that one.
What was the who else is with Nacua in the third one?
It's Darnold, C.J. Stroud. Oh, no. This
the
one,
receiver one.
This one is Ladd McConkey, Nico Collins, and Justin Jefferson and Puka Nacua for receivers, and then it's Derrick Henry and Najee Harris for.
I would do the Jefferson Nacua one by itself and just
that one's
leave
plus
the other ones
650.
Yeah, I would do that at 650.
Go for it.
I'm gonna leave those other ones alone.
Okay.
I can't.
I figured the people would probably want some degeneracy this weekend. As anti-parlay as I am, I thought I would be, a people pleaser for once.
One other thing, Vikings and Rams, obviously a change of venue. How much is the line swung?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
The Vikings and the Rams no longer playing in L.A.
Yeah.
They're playing on a neutral field. How much has that moved the line?
So if you bet this game prior, I'm pretty sure the way that it works is the books refund you, and you have to get back in once those lines come out. So currently, as this weekend is looking, I don't know why my internet is not.
I see Vikings -2.
Are you guys having trouble with the internet in here today?
No.
No? Okay, it's 2.5 on
Okay.
DraftKings currently.
Okay.
That's what I got.
I really like the Rams this weekend. I hate to say it. I just feel like they're playing world beater football right now. It's Sam Darnold's first playoff game. I think that it helps that it's not in Minnesota. If this were, an LA team that had to travel any further than they are, I get that they're going through a lot of crap, but I feel like that's a good get-up spot for a team. We watched New Orleans last week. That was my whole thing, was that this feels just like, because of this tragedy, it feels like a get-up spot for New Orleans. I think whenever tragedy strikes, it's an easy spot to rally behind a football team or a basketball team or whatever.
Yeah, and I like the Rams beforehand in this. The Rams. Yeah, I which, take that for what it's worth. Bet against it if you want to make some money. Anytime I like something, go ahead and go the other way, and you'll probably be safe. But in terms of like the fan base and what this means, it probably means a little less for LA in terms of what their fan base is, what they're going through right now, and what it could mean to the team. Yes, rallying around a city that is, going through something generally bodes well for that team.
Yeah.
In this case, a lot of guys worried about what's going on at home.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
Yeah. See, I just, for me, it's the combination of the Sam Darnold first playoff game. I get the Vikings defense has been incredible. Kevin O'Connell, great coach of the year in my opinion. When the Rams offense is on, it feels like one of the just most prolific offenses we've seen in the last couple of years.
Put it this way: if I were gonna bet the Rams in this game, I'd be doing it just for the reasons that I like them to win this game to begin with. I don't even factor in what's happening with the wildfires in LA right now, which seems kind of sick to be using that. There's some kind of betting advantage, but whatever. This is what we're talking about. And I would also factor in how Sam Darnold looked against the Lions.
Yeah.
Tough to bet that. Tough to bet on that guy right
when
now.
he's a pumpkin, he's a pumpkin. But when he's on, he's on.
I know, but that's the last thing we saw was against a playoff team, a good team, and he crapped himself.
And Matt Stafford has experience. Like, he's been there, he's done it. So I think that bodes well for them. The Vikings defense is probably really going to have to bail them out. I will say the last time that LA played in Arizona, not that they're playing the Cardinals or whatever, tough showing for their offense. But Vikings fans do travel, and the Rams don't really have a fan base, in my opinion, just because LA doesn't really care about football. But do they care about football right now? All these people that are evacuating, if it were me and I had a car, I'd drive that 4 or 5 hours to Arizona. Are you kidding? What the hell else do I have to do?
Of course you would drive.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
You wouldn't fly, that's for sure.
Put me in the car like a dog.
There you go. Kendra Middleton, we appreciate you so much. I know you like to tell people where to find you, and that is where?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Kendra Middleton, everywhere at Kendra Middleton except for Twitter. It's Kenny with an I Middleton. Yeah, bad week last week, but I'm hoping to get back after it this week. I don't know what incentive betting last year was awesome. This year, not so much.
That stupid freaking 5 yards per quarter thing. I had one a couple of weekends ago. It was every team to score. I think it was every team to kick a field goal in each half of each game.
I hate that.
All right. Do you know what the payout was?
Probably absurd.
Absurd. I'm like, this is probably going to happen. Like, no research at all.
That's why the books do it.
Every team going to do it. And I'm serious. When I say it was plus 10,000, it was easily that.
Yeah.
It was easily that number. I'm like, that's a huge number. It missed by the first half of the 1 o'clock games.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't kick a field goal. I'm like, oh.
That's why they build these parlays. That's how they get you. The house
It
always
looked
wins.
so easy. So easy.
See, I'm nervous about this, which is why I feel like it might be okay. I'm not.
I like
Is that how it works?
I like the Nakua Jefferson at plus 650.
Well, because anytime you're like, oh, this is for sure going to
Just
hit.
wondering, the Sharps, do they get nervous? Apparently they do.
Oh, yeah. Everybody gets nervous.
Yeah,
What's the thing from Zoe and Brett? Do you ever get nervous?
Oh, he just walked in. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Do you know whose voice
It was a
is?
little kid that called into like an old radio station here, right? Or something like that?
It's Mark Bertrand.
No way.
It's Mark Bertrand as a little kid calling into a talk show when Drew Bledsoe was on.
I didn't know it was Beetle.
Yeah, let's go to Mark and Quincy. Yeah, do you ever get nervous before a big game?
Oh, my God. I just thought that it was some silly little kid. I did not know that was Beetle.
No. It's a little Beetle.
That is 10 times funnier now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The more you know. Wow, I got my history lesson for today.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so good. And I apparently am a golden retriever in Hardy's eyes, which makes me feel like he hates me a
not
little
just
less.
him. No, that's a very good comparison.
My T-shirt said it all a couple of days ago. I like golf and dogs and maybe 3 people. So whatever.
And there are 3 other people in your family, so that's good math.
Well, he doesn't like all of them. There are a couple that are on the outs, actually.
I'm legally required to love them, so we leave them out of it. All right, Kendra, thank you. But we're back back with the stack next.
begin your
Seldom
day.
right and never wrong.
Right here. Is that Dutcher or is that Hardy?
Kinda looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub. We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show?
Ready.
It's time for The Stack on
Podcast is the Jared Carabas thing with a couple of people, including Tyler Milliken.
Correct.
Okay?
Yes.
They have Walker Buehler on the Section 10 podcast.
Brand new Red Sox pitcher.
As a guest. Here's what went down.
We do have a baseball nerd on here who's dying to ask you about XFIP, Sierra.
I'm looking around at the Zoom screen, and I'll take one guess at who we're talking about.
And he's looking right at Tyler Milliken.
Yep.
So let me tell you something about Tyler Milliken, because I worked with Tyler for years on the Midday Show.
Yes, trouble with math and with distances.
Trouble, yes. He didn't. Still not sure what a 5K is. Still thinks that has something to do with 5,000
kilometers.
But other than that,
right. I don't know, and I'm sure, like at a Christmas party or something, I must have shaken his hand before. But it was last week when I gave T-Bone the customary. It's kind of like an ironic either high five or a hand slap, and T-Bone does it as a way to exert his dominance because he has big, meaty hands.
Very strong individual.
And very, loud slap when he
Yep.
slaps your hand.
Yep.
So I felt bad for Tyler. I'm like, here, Tyler, give me 5. And he did. And when he touched my hand, I said, oh, my God, you have the softest hands of any man I've ever encountered. And when I tell you soft, I mean newborn baby's ass soft.
That's weird. Tyler's like in his late 20s now, right?
Now, if I were T-Bone, I would say you would think they would become calloused after just gripping knives and forks hard enough.
Yeah.
Throughout your daily culinary routine. But I'm not T-Bone. That's mean. I wouldn't say that. I would think at some point you must have ridden a bicycle.
I'm from the streets. I grew up in Brockton.
Right. You must have grabbed like a rake or something to callus your hand by doing something. Not a callus, not a blemish, not a scar, nothing.
Maybe he's Costanza. Maybe he works on those things. Maybe he moisturizes.
Milky, pure white softness. I mean, not a mark or an indentation, nothing. You want to talk about never having done a hard day's work. T-bones are all like, leathery and callous from just gripping barbells and dumbbells and pull-up bars day after day after day.
That's weird.
If you mine mostly from golf clubs and now, of course, my pickleball paddle. But we all, you live long enough, you get into your 20s or 30s as a man, your hands should be a little rough. Not Milliken.
I mean, didn't he do chores when he was younger? Didn't he take the garbage cans out? Didn't he do dishes? Didn't he do something?
I'm sure, based on touching his hands, the answer A is no, and he doesn't do them now. There's no way.
Oh, not a chance. No, now is a different thing. The man either lives at home or in an apartment where everything's taken care of. Yeah. No, that didn't happen. We have a suggestion from a listener. Hardy and John love the show. Would never tell you to change anything, but why doesn't Kendra have her own theme song? Bert's got Bert's Blast. Andrew Callahan has 3 or 4 different songs. I feel Kendra deserves one. Might I suggest a song using the music from the Motley Crue classic, Angela? Or, if you're going with Kenny, use the tune Brandy.
What the hell is he talking? What would either one of those have to do with Kendra?
I don't know. It's the email. I read it.
I don't know from Motley Crue other than reading the dirt. I can't count myself a fan. So
At 12? You got a suggestion?
He doesn't know.
I'm pulling up. I don't know Angela, so I'm trying to pull that up right now.
He calls it the Motley Crue
see if we can do anything with it. I don't know
Motley Crue
about that.
classic.
Yeah, a classic from an album called Supersonic and Demonic Relics. So this is like the throwaway songs.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a Crue guy, so.
I got an email from Don and Carver.
Oh, boy.
He was only on hold for 20 minutes. I got him on even though his thing was off topic. He wanted to argue with me about Brian Flores and how he handled Tua Tagovailoa. And he said that, Tua stinks. I said, well, so what if he stinks? Number one, I'm not sure he does. And number two, you don't want your head coach to be at odds with your quarterback if you can avoid that. Don emailed. He said, I guess I got a little edgy and asked for your forgiveness.
Now he's apologized to both of you for being
It was in no way meant to be directed at you personally. I always consider you my friend, as I hope you're aware.
Well, I guess I'm the only one left. Don was very complimentary of me calling Celtic games, so I'm halfway there.
Well,
but he loves Fred and he loves you and has apologized to both of you for popping off in the last couple of months.
At some point, he will chastise you and then apologize for it.
Don't feel like I'm part of the club, Don.
All right, get well soon, Fred. Get well soon. As he has been out sick today, but nobody's sick on the midday show. They're all here. Zolak, Bertrand, sure McBone is floating around here somewhere, so they'll be up next, and we'll talk to you on Monday.
Bye.